Chapter 41:24. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 white lights appeared in the cave, where Zhuowen was, and then 3 figures appeared. It was Duan Jipeng, Lin Long, and his wife. "Brother Zhua, you're amazing, thank you." Duan Jipeng spread out his hands, his eyes revealing a look of joy, and then looked at Zhuowen excitedly. Lin Long and his wife were also quite surprised, and at the same time looked at Zhuowen with complicated eyes. They also knew from Duan Jipeng that the 3 formation discs were provided by Zhuowen. If they were not mistaken, the cyan barrier that appeared in the 3 formation discs should be a first heaven of the eternal grade restriction. Otherwise, it would be impossible to block the joint attack of so many alien beasts of universe and buy enough time for them to teleport. However, what they did not understand was that a first heaven of the eternal grade formation disc was extremely precious. Even they might not be willing to buy such a formation disc. However, Zhuowen was only at the middle stage of the ancient star transformation realm. Not only did he have such a formation disc, but he also used it to save them. "It's okay. It's just a small matter," Zhuowen said with a smile. Duan Jipeng looked at Zhuowen with blazing eyes and said excitedly, "Brother Zhua, you're also a first heaven of the eternal grade divine formation master, right?" Zhuowen was taken aback, and then nodded, saying, "Brother Duan, you really have good taste." Lin Long and his wife were so shocked that their jaws almost fell, and they looked at Zhuowen in disbelief. "Brother Zhua, thank you for saving our lives. If it weren't for Brother Zhua, we would have been beheaded." Lin Long and his wife came forward and thanked Zhuowen submissively. At the same time, they also apologized for their previous rude behavior. Although Zhua, when strength was weaker than theirs, with the addition of an eternal level array godmaster, he was much more useful than them. After all, eternal grade divine formation masters were much rarer than great carefree realm experts. Zhuowen smiled. He didn't care about Lin Long and his wife's attitude towards him. Lin Long and his wife heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that Zhuowen did not pursue the matter. After all, it was not a good thing to offend an eternal level divine array master. Boom, boom. At this moment, a terrifying explosion came from outside the cave. The faces of Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng flickered slightly. Through their spiritual powers, they discovered that outside the cave, the divine bird, whose entire body was burning with golden flames, was leading 7 to 8 beasts of universal calamity and crazily attacking the formation outside the cave. Fortunately, Zhuowen had already set up a powerful array outside the cave. Otherwise, the cave would have been crushed by the divine bird. "Brother Zhua, their attacks are too ferocious. I'm afraid your formation won't last long, right?" Duan Jipeng said with a pale face. Zhuowen's 10 fingers moved in quick succession. Formation runes surged out like a tidal wave, constantly mending the damaged parts of the formation outside the cave. "This is not a long-term solution. Brother Zhua, the rate at which the formation is being damaged is much faster than the rate at which you can repair it." Lin Long and his wife also came to the entrance of the cave, looking quite frightened. "The beast tide is escaping. As long as we can hold on, these beasts won't stay for long," Zhuowen said calmly. About a quarter of an hour later, the divine bird outside the cave led 7 to 8 beasts. They let out extremely unwilling cries, then gave up the attack and fled outside. After the beast tide left, Zhuowen breathed a sigh of relief and stopped fiddling with his 10 fingers. As for the great array outside the cave, it could no longer withstand Zhuowen's actions and collapsed. Zhuowen's face was pale, and he had a splitting headache. His spirit was damaged because of this. After all, the combined attack of 7 to 8 beasts and a divine bird at the peak of the cosmos tribulation was very difficult for even Zhuowen to resist. If the beasts had not retreated first, Zhuowen might not have been able to hold on. After the beast tide retreated, Zhuowen and the others came out of the cave. After that, a terrifying pressure spread out from the depths of the Snow Flame Valley and covered the entire Snow Flame Valley. Look, what's that? Zhuowen and the others hurriedly came out of the cave and saw a pillar of light shooting into the sky from the depths of the Snow Flame Valley, as if it had pierced through the sky. At the same time, figures dashed out from every corner of the Snow Flame Valley like a swarm of locusts as they charged towards the location of the light pillar. It must be the birth of the Cosmic Aspect Tomb. Let's go and take a look. Duan Jipeng's eyes were filled with excitement as he led Zhuowen and the others into the depths. Due to the beast tide, the deeper they went into the Snow Flame Valley, the fewer beasts there were. When they arrived at the open space where the light pillar was, they did not see any more beasts. The source of the light pillar was a deep pool that was thousands of feet wide. At this moment, a huge whirlpool had appeared in the center of the pool, and the light pillar was formed from the whirlpool and shot into the sky. They also realized that the figures from every corner of the Snow Flame Valley had all rushed into the whirlpool. The tomb of the Cosmic Aspect Expert should be in the depths of the whirlpool. Duan Jipeng said with a burning gaze, "It seems that many people have already entered the depths of the tomb. Let's go in quickly." Linlong said anxiously. Zhuowen stopped them, which made Duan Jipeng and the others very confused. "Don't go in first. This whirlpool is not simple." Zhuowen's eyes were solemn. His consciousness was stronger than Duan Jipeng's and the others, so he realized that there was something strange about the whirlpool. In addition, he also found many powerful auras in the 4 huge mountains around the pool, and some of them were very familiar. These people had obviously arrived early, but they deliberately hid in the mountains and did not go in. They must have realized that there was something strange about the whirlpool. Ah! At this moment, shrill screams came from the whirlpool, and then it quieted down in an instant. After a short period of silence, a strange clicking sound came from the depths of the whirlpool. The sound was like the noise of rusty gears that were struggling to turn, and it was very unpleasant to the ears. The strange sound became louder and louder, and finally, under Zhuowen's shocked gaze, a bronze tombstone rushed out of the whirlpool and broke into pieces in midair. After the tombstone broke into pieces, a complete world continued to expand and hung in midair above the Snow Flame Valley. This is the inner world of the Cosmic Aspect Expert, right? His tomb must be in here. It seems that it was a trap, and whoever enters, it will die. Zhuowen said calmly. Duan Jipeng and Linlong were sweating profusely. They had been overjoyed just now, and fortunately, Zhuowen had stopped them. Otherwise, they would not have had a good ending. "It's safe now. Go in." The moment this world appeared, a devilish purple-haired youth rushed into the sky from a mountain, turned into a purple light, and jumped into the world. The purple-haired youth was like a catalyst. When he rushed into the world, the many experts in the surrounding mountains who had been waiting for a long time appeared and rushed into the world. "Let's go. We can't fall behind." Chapter 41:25. Boom, boom, boom. When Zhuowen and the others entered this strange world, they immediately noticed that it was filled with all kinds of extremely powerful tribulations. They landed at the bottom of a remote cliff, and a black lightning bolt as thick as a bucket struck down, cutting off the top of the cliff. Countless huge rocks fell towards them. This is the inner world of a cosmic Dharma powerhouse. It's much more powerful than the Qian Kuan world of a cosmic tribulation powerhouse. Try to avoid the tribulations in this world. Don't take them head on. Duan Jipeng said, solemnly. Zhuowen and Linlong nodded. They didn't need Duan Jipeng's reminder. They could already feel the terrifying tribulations that existed throughout the entire world. There must be a large number of treasures left behind by that cosmic Dharma powerhouse in this world. If we can get one, it'll be an unimaginable opportunity. Linlong and his wife's eyes were filled with excitement. If we can find the real tomb of that cosmic Dharma powerhouse, it'll be a great opportunity. Zhuowen smiled faintly. That's too difficult. There are too many powerhouses entering the tomb this time. It'll be difficult for us to compete with them. Linlong and his wife shook their heads and smiled bitterly. That's not necessarily true. Zhuowen shook his head and took the lead to rush into the depths of the world. Half a day later, Zhuowen and the others arrived at a red maple forest. In this maple forest, red maple leaves floated and swept through the forest like a sea of blood. It was as if there were agile blood pythons hidden in the forest. At this moment, there were many cultivators outside this blood-like forest. They all stopped and didn't dare to move forward, their faces full of fear. This forest is strange. Let's not go in first. Let's ask the others first. Duan Jipeng raised his head and landed beside the nearest cultivator. After the young cultivator felt Duan Jipeng's powerful aura, his expression changed slightly. He didn't dare to neglect Duan Jipeng's questions and basically answered everything he knew. It's said that there's a divine herb garden hidden in the depths of this blood-red forest. Previously, several powerhouses of the Great Tribulation of Universe broke in and even took out an eternal rank 1 divine herb. When he spoke up to hear, Duan Jipeng's expression became solemn instead, and he continued. However, this blood-red forest is extremely terrifying. Supposedly, even those experts of the universe tribulation were heavily injured and barely escaped with their lives. Are you going to go in? The Linlong couple's expressions changed slightly. Even an expert of the Great Tribulation of Universe had been severely injured. This blood forest was definitely not simple. Wealth comes from danger. If you're not even willing to take this little risk, how can you still want to advance bravely on the path of cultivation? Zhuowen said solemnly. When Linlong and his wife saw that Zhuowen had agreed to go in, they gritted their teeth and agreed to explore the depths of this place. Good, let's go in. Duan Jipeng nodded and led the three of them towards the entrance of the Scarlet Forest. However, just as they were about to step into the entrance of the Scarlet Forest, a divine spear came through the air and blasted towards where Duan Jipeng and the others were. Duan Jipeng's expression changed slightly. With a wave of his sleeve, he swept Zhuowen and the other two away and fiercely retreated backwards. Boom! The divine spear moved as fast as lightning, and in the blink of an eye, it arrived at the entrance of the Scarlet Forest. Intense energy ripples spread out, and the ground directly exploded into a huge crater. In the middle of the crater, a silver divine spear stood there quietly. A sparkling silver white light flickered on the spear's body. Who is it? Duan Jipeng frowned and asked with an unsightly expression. He, this young master has taken a fancy to this treasure land. Scram! A gentle but domineering voice came from the distance. Everyone saw a group of cultivators quickly approaching. Strangely, the cultivators of this group were all in the form of human faces and snake bodies. It's actually the Nuwa clan's team. Outside the blood-colored forest, numerous whispers rang out. Fear was revealed in their eyes. The Nuwa clan was one of the higher realms. Their foundation was much deeper than the average higher realms. Most of them here were independent cultivators and cultivators from lower realms. They really didn't dare to offend the Nuwa clan. At the front of the Nuwa clan's team was a gentle-looking youth. He was the genius ranked 72nd on the Outer World rankings, Lai Rong. The one who had spoken arrogantly was Lai Rong. The Nuwa clan's team landed at the entrance of the Scarlet Forest. Lai Rong waved his right hand, and the Silver Divine's spear appeared in his hand. He then looked at Zhuowen, Duan Jipeng, and the other two with a rather arrogant gaze. Duan Jipeng's gaze slowly turned cold. They had really searched high and low for something. He had originally wanted to cause trouble for the Nuwa clan, but he hadn't expected Lai Rong to deliver himself to his doorstep. Zhuowen was carefully sizing up Lai Rong as well. Duan Jipeng had told him that the fastest way to obtain a token to enter the Outerium battlefield was to seize a cultivator who possessed such a token. They didn't know if the others who had entered this time possessed a slot token, but basically all the geniuses on the Outer World rankings possessed one. Thus, Duan Jipeng had already set a few targets for Zhuowen before they entered, and Lai Rong was one of them. "Why aren't you scramming?" Lai Rong couldn't help but frown when he saw that Zhuowen, Duan Jipeng, and the other two were sizing him up with a strange gaze. He shouted coldly, "Ha, how impressive! Could it be that the Nuwa clan owns this Scarlet Forest?" Duan Jipeng mocked. "Oh, you really are bold. You clearly know that we're from the Nuwa clan, yet you still dare to provoke us. Do you think your life is too long?" Lai Rong's gaze turned cold. "Young master, do you want me to annihilate them?" The black-robed old man by Lai Rong's side spoke in a sinister voice. "Elder He, then I'll have to trouble you to kill all four of them." Lai Rong looked down indifferently at Zhuowen and the others, and it was as if he was looking at ants. Elder He nodded, and then he stepped through the air and looked indifferently at Duan Jipeng's group of four. He said, "All of you shouldn't have offended the young master. If you had ket off early, you wouldn't have suffered such a calamity. Unfortunately, all of you insist on courting death." As he spoke, Elder He suddenly released his aura. Instantly, the entire Scarlet Forest trembled violently under his aura, and layers of strange distortions appeared in the surrounding space. A peak expert of the universe tribulation, at the outer area of the Scarlet Forest, all the cultivators gasped when they sensed the terrifying aura on Elder He, and their eyes were filled with terror. Chapter 41:26. Shouldn't be offended? You guys think too highly of yourselves. Duan Jipeng laughed. He took a step forward and floated in front of Elder He. His terrifying aura, no weaker than Elder He's, burst out and completely blocked Elder He's pressure. Another expert at the pinnacle of the great Qian Kuan tribulation. How terrifying! The crowd was in an uproar. Obviously, they did not expect the unknown Jipeng group of four to have a pinnacle expert at the pinnacle of the great Qian Kuan tribulation. Who are you? Lai Rong frowned slightly as he coldly glanced at Duan Jipeng. He did not expect that this unfamiliar fellow would actually be an expert with such strength. There were not many pinnacle experts at the pinnacle of the great Qian Kuan tribulation who had entered the tomb this time. He recognized most of them. However, the man in front of him was very unfamiliar, and he did not recognize him. Moreover, he keenly noticed that Duan Jipeng's face had obviously been changed. This guy was not using his real face. Duan Jipeng grinned and did not answer Lai Rong. Instead, he stepped into the void with his right foot and rushed past Elder He toward Lai Rong. "Humph! You're courting death." Elder He snorted and summoned his Qian Kuan world. He seized the tribulation energy within and turned it into countless thunderbolts that blasted toward Duan Jipeng. Duan Jipeng frowned and had to turn around and summon his Qian Kuan world to resist the tribulation energy released by Elder He. When Duan Jipeng had completely neutralized the thunderbolt energy, Elder He had already appeared in front of him and launched a thunderbolt attack on him without hesitation. Boom, boom, boom. The energy shockwaves caused by the two pinnacle experts of the Great Qiankuan Tribulation were extremely terrifying. Endless energy fluctuations swept out in all directions like waves. Wherever they passed, the earth cracked and the sky darkened. The faces of the many cultivators who had gathered outside the blood forest changed drastically. They retreated and watched from afar. What made everyone even more shocked was that the blood forest, which seemed to be unable to withstand a single blow, was actually completely unharmed in the battle. This blood forest really has some tricks up its sleeves. The special arrangement of the trees inside has formed an extremely complicated and powerful defensive formation. Its power is comparable to a formation at the first heaven of the eternal level. Zhuowen retreated into the distance. His eyes landed on the blood forest as he muttered in his heart, "Brother Zhuo, what should we do now?" Lin Long and his wife were a little flustered. After all, the Nuwa clan was not a small force. It was a true hegemon. Offending the Nuwa clan here was not a good thing for them. Now that you're here, it's not the time to be apprehensive. If you want to obtain the good fortune, then you must pay a sufficient price. Go and capture Lai Rong. I will set up a formation behind you to support you. Zhuowen said calmly. Although Lin Long and his wife were opportunistic, they knew the severity of the situation. Therefore, they summoned their respective Qiankuan worlds and charged towards Lai Rong. It's actually two late-stage universe tribulation experts. What exactly is the background of this team? Isn't this lineup a little too terrifying? When Lin Long and his wife also made their move, the surrounding crowd was really shocked, and there was an uproar. Lai Rong's eyes narrowed. His originally calm face finally showed a trace of surprise. This is interesting. 9 protectors, 10 protectors. You two block the 2 of them. The rest of you assist the 2 protectors in destroying these 2. Lai Rong stood proudly and ordered the team around him in an orderly manner. 2 middle-aged men with sharp eyes rushed out from behind Lai Rong and led the Nuwa clan team to charge towards Lin Long and his wife. Lai Rong did not even look at Zhuowen. After all, Zhuowen's aura was too weak. He was only at the mid-stage ancient star transformation realm. He did not have the qualifications to be taken seriously by Lai Rong. Immediately, the 2 protectors of the Nuwa clan led the team and surrounded Lin Long and his wife. The 9 protectors and 10 protectors were late-stage universe tribulation experts. In addition, the Nuwa clan team was besieging them in a special formation. Therefore, Lin Long and his wife were at a disadvantage. What is this kid doing? Isn't he courting death by going over like this? When the 2 groups of people were fighting, the crowd immediately noticed that Zhuowen, who had been quietly standing at the side, suddenly walked towards the battle. Naturally, the crowd could see that Zhuowen was the weakest of the 4. He was only at the mid-stage ancient star transformation realm. Entering the battle with such a cultivation level was suicide. However, they didn't notice that Zhuowen's 10 fingers were lightly dancing in the air as he walked. Numerous powerful formation runes leaped out from his fingertips, as if they were spiritual notes, magical and mysterious. Formation, rise. When Zhuowen arrived at the battle where Lin Long and his wife were fighting, his eyes shone brightly. Then he waved his sleeve, and endless formation runes shot into the sky like a dragon. It was terrifying. It's a formation? Is this guy a divine array master? No, this is a first firmament eternal formation. Lai Rong, who had been indifferent, immediately noticed the terrifying formation runes. He did not pay much attention at first, but after sensing the formation, his body trembled and his face stiffened. The formation was like a cage, trapping the two enforcers and all the other cultivators of the Nuwa clan within. Streaks of terrifying killing intent burst out from every corner of the formation and rushed towards the Nuwa clan cultivators inside the formation. Ah! Screams rang out continuously. Cultivators below the universe tribulation level could not withstand the killing intent of the formation, and were all annihilated. Only the two protectors, who were the strongest, could barely withstand the terrifying killing intent of the formation. Strangely, Lin Long and his wife, who were also in the formation, were unharmed. Kill. Lin Long and his wife were invigorated. Knowing that this was a great opportunity, they attacked the two protectors fiercely with all their might. In an instant, the two protectors were completely at a disadvantage, and their injuries increased. Zhuowen floated outside the formation and moved his fingers. After setting up the killing formation, he set up a trapping formation and a maze formation. No matter how strong the two protectors were, it would be difficult for them to leave the range of the formation until they died. Damn it! This guy is an eternal divine array master. I must kill him. Lai Rong gritted his teeth, and a strong killing intent flashed in his eyes. He stopped watching and charged towards Zhuowen with murderous intent. He knew very well that if he did not kill this young man, their team would be wiped out. Brother Zhua, watch out! Duan Jipeng had been paying attention to this side. He immediately noticed Lai Rong's attack and shouted to warn Zhuowen. Zhuowen did not seem to hear him. He continued to move his fingers and ignored Lai Rong, who was getting closer and closer. This guy is finished. He's still setting up the formation. He can't even escape. Now, Lai Rong is ranked 72nd on the Outer Realm Heaven list. His strength is comparable to an almighty in the early stage of the Qian Kuan tribulation. Everyone secretly shook their heads, thinking that Zhuowen was doomed. Die, you bastard! Lai Rong rushed in front of Zhuowen and took out his natal lone star. He held the silver spear in his hand and stabbed towards Zhuowen's forehead. However, Lai Rong did not expect the young man in front of him to slowly raise his head and grin at him. Chapter 41:27. When the white light faded, Zhuowen and Lai Rong appeared in the formation where Lin Long and his wife were. Don't resist. Leave with me. Zhuowen appeared beside Lin Long and his wife and grabbed their hands. He crushed the formation disc that he had prepared earlier, and the three of them were enveloped by the white light again. Damn it! What a cunning fellow. He actually prepared the teleportation formation long ago just to teleport me into it. Lai Rong's expression immediately turned ugly when he appeared in the formation as he muttered. However, when he saw Zhuowen carrying Lin Long and his wife away, his expression finally changed. Bastard, don't even think about leaving. Lai Rong gnashed his teeth, rushing explosively towards Zhua when without the slightest grace. The incomparably massive lifebound lone star shot out violently, rumbling over as if it had teleported. However, the moment Lai Rong released his attack, the formation rippled like water. Terrifying waves of killing intent surged out and blocked all of Lai Rong's attacks. Lai Rong's forward momentum was stopped because of this. At the same time, Zhuowen and his wife disappeared from the formation in the white light. Outside the formation, Zhuowen, Lin Long, and his wife appeared not too far away. Brother Zhua, did you plan to do this long ago? Lin Long and his wife looked at him with reverence. Zhuowen's series of actions earlier had been too smooth. If he had not planned it beforehand, it would have been impossible for him to do it so smoothly. In other words, Zhuowen had already thought of how to deal with Lai Rong before Lai Rong had made his move. The two of them were terrified by his temperament and schemes. Zhuowen smiled and did not answer. Instead, he looked at Lai Rong in the formation and said, "When I was setting up the formation, I was afraid that you wouldn't come. Fortunately, you didn't disappoint me." Inside the array, Lai Rong was fuming with anger when he heard this. He also realized that he had been tricked. Your formation is not bad, but it's probably not enough to deal with me and my two protectors. You should be aware that we are members of the Nuwa clan, and we aren't people that independent cultivators like you can afford to offend. Now, if you undo the grand formation, this young master will not pursue the matter of your offense from before. Moreover, this young master can even be merciful and allow all of you to enter this blood forest. How about it? Lai Rong's gaze flickered as he suddenly spoke indifferently. He was absolutely confident. After all, the Nuwa clan that stood behind him wasn't an ordinary power, and it was extremely enormous. It wasn't an existence that ordinary cultivators were willing to offend. In his opinion, if Zhuowen and the others were smart, they wouldn't really be so heavy-handed. Aren't you a little too confident in yourself? Your suggestion is just bullshit to me. Zhuowen shook his head and slowly took out an array flag from his bosom. The array flag was pentagonal, and there were dense and complicated array patterns drawn on it. What are you trying to do? Lai Rong had a bad feeling the moment he saw the array flag. You'll know soon enough. Zhuowen was expressionless. Terrifying divine power surged from his palm and poured into the array flag in his hand. Instantly, the array flag was annihilated. Then, cracks began to appear on the surface of the grand formation, where Lai Rong was. A terrifying aura of destruction filled the interior of the grand formation. What are you trying to do? Lai Rong and the two guardians' expressions changed completely when they sensed the terrifying aura of destruction. I wonder if the three of you can withstand the self-destruction of a first firmament eternal grade grand formation. Zhuowen's lips curled into a smile, but his indifferent voice rang out. Instantly, there was an uproar among the crowd. The Linlong couple was so shocked that their mouths were agape. You're crazy. Lai Rong, who had always been calm, completely lost his composure. His entire body began to tremble. He knew very well how powerful the self-destruction of a first firmament eternal grade grand formation was. Even an expert at the peak of the great calamity of universe would be severely injured, let alone them. The two of you, let's retreat for a while. Zhuowen looked at the Linlong couple with a smile. Okay. The Linlong couple came back to their senses. Their expressions became even more complicated and fearful. They hurriedly retreated with Zhuowen, the black-robed old man, who was originally fighting with Duan Jipeng, naturally also noticed the grand formation that was about to self-destruct. Little bastard, you're courting death. Hurry up and release the young master and the others. The black-robed old man no longer cared about fighting with Duan Jipeng. Instead, he flew toward Zhuowen with bloodshot eyes. Humph! Old man, your opponent is me. Why are you running? Duan Jipeng snorted coldly. Naturally, he would not let the black-robed old man leave. He entangled him so tightly that it was impossible for him to escape. The grand formation in the sky had reached the limit of collapse. Then, with a loud boom, it began to explode continuously. The entire grand formation collapsed. The energy generated was so terrifying that it seemed as if the entire sky had been pierced through. No, within the grand formation, the shrill screams of Lai Rong and the two guardians resounded. It sounded exceptionally horrifying. The grand formation's explosion lasted for more than 10 minutes before it finally stopped. 3 wretched figures fell from the sky and landed heavily on the ground. Zhuo brought Lin Long and his wife to where the 3 of them had fallen. The 2 protectors' bodies were on the verge of collapse. They were dripping with blood and on the verge of death. On the other hand, although Lai Rong was seriously injured, his injuries were much lighter than the 2 guardians. It seemed that the moment the Grand Formation exploded, the 2 guardians should have sacrificed themselves to protect Lai Rong. Otherwise, Lai Rong would have died on the spot. You're so despicable. You actually used the Grand Formation to self-destruct. That's an unfair victory, Lai Rong said with an ugly expression. However, Zhuo sneered and said, "Formation techniques are also a type of strength. Speaking of unfair victory, I can't compare to you. After all, you directly outnumbered me." As he said, Zhuo lifted Lai Rong with his right hand and searched Lai Rong's storage divine artifact without any hesitation. At the same time, he even found a token inlaid with golden jade at Lai Rong's waist. On the front of the token, the word battle was engraved. This should be the foreign battlefield's quota token. Zhuo's eyes revealed a glint and accepted this token without any trace of politeness. When Lai Rong saw that Zhuo was so shameless, actually plundering the items on his body, he was shocked and enraged. And the 2 guardians who were on their last breaths glared at Zhuo. If not for them being seriously injured, they might have long exploded and attacked Zhuo. Chapter 41:28. Duan Jipeng was only half a step away from condensing the cosmic aspect, so he was slightly stronger than the black-robed old man. Therefore, he had basically held the upper hand since the beginning of the battle. Although the black-robed old man was going all out with every move, it was completely useless. Instead, the injuries on his body became more and more serious. "Young master," after seeing Lai Rong and the other 2 captured alive by Zhuo, the black-robed old man was furious. He immediately panicked, and Duan Jipeng found a flaw and attacked with all his strength. Spurt, the black-robed old man, suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and his figure flew out in a sorry state. "Just you wait. We won't let this go just like that." The black-robed old man roared angrily and fled into the distance at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, what no one noticed was that before the black-robed old man left, he took out a black and gold talisman and quietly crushed it. What an ingenious escape technique. Duan Jipeng wanted to give chase, but the black-robed old man was too fast. In the blink of an eye, he became a distant Xiao He dot. Duan Jipeng knew that he couldn't catch up with his speed at all, so he simply gave up. "Brother Zhuo, you're really awesome. I didn't expect the formation to self-destruct." After Duan Jipeng returned to Zhuo's side, he couldn't help but give Zhuo a thumbs up and clicked his tongue in admiration. If he had been at the center of the explosion, even he would have been severely injured. Lin Long and his wife revealed deep respect in their eyes. "Brother Duan, I'll leave these 3 to you." Zhuo looked at Duan Jipeng and said. Duan Jipeng had an irreconcilable enmity with the Nuwa clan, so Zhuo knew that it was most appropriate to leave Lai Rong and the other 2 to Duan Jipeng. Duan Jipeng only glanced indifferently at Lai Rong and the other 2 and said, "Just kill them. Let me do it." Lai Rong's pupils constricted, and he immediately said loudly, "You can't kill me. If you kill me, you'll become sworn enemies with the Nuwa clan. At that time, you'll be wanted by the Nuwa clan. Will you let bygones be bygones? If I let you go, do you really think I'm a fool? Moreover, we've already become mortal enemies." Duan Jipeng's eyes were cold as he pointed the sword finger of his right hand at the space between the 10 protectors' eyebrows. Powerful divine power gushed out and annihilated the 10 protectors' divine souls. Then he did the same thing and killed the 9 protectors. In the end, his gaze landed on Lai Rong. You're a genius on the outer realm heavenly ranking, and you're even more famous among the younger generation of the Nuwa clan. If you die, I think the Nuwa clan will probably feel the pain. Duan Jipeng smiled coldly, then slowly pointed his sword finger at Lai Rong's forehead. Lai Rong's eyes flashed. His right hand silently reached out. Black gold flashed at the center of his palm. Upon closer inspection, one could see that there was a black gold talisman in his palm. Whoosh! Suddenly, the black gold talisman was crushed, and a strange black gold light enveloped Lai Rong's entire body, after which Lai Rong swiftly fled into the distance like a gust of wind. All of you remember this. I'll remember this enmity, and I'll definitely repay you double in the future. At the instant that Lai Rong used the talisman to flee, his resentful voice sounded from afar. Bang! Duan Jipeng suddenly punched the ground beneath his feet and said, "Just a little bit more." I didn't expect Lai Rong to have a backup plan. Zhuowen frowned slightly. Lai Rong's speed was too fast just now, and even he couldn't react in time. However, he found it strange. He'd clearly searched Lai Rong's entire body. So where did he get that black gold talisman from? Let's go. Let's go take a look at the depths of the blood forest, Zhuowen said in a low voice. Duan Jipeng recovered his calm and nodded. Brother Zhuo is right. Since Lai Rong and the others value the blood forest so much, the things hidden inside should be extraordinary. After Duan Jipeng entered the blood forest, the numerous cultivators in the periphery didn't dare approach. Even the Nuwa clan's team had fallen at the hands of Duan Jipeng's team. So how could they dare go against this team? There's a powerful sealing formation hidden within the blood forest. However, I've already studied it thoroughly. You only need to follow me. After entering the blood forest, Zhuowen reminded Duan Jipeng and Lin Long. When he was setting up the formation to deal with Lai Rong, he had already secretly observed the blood forest. He already knew the location and plan of the formation like the back of his hand. As long as they didn't trigger the formation restrictions in the blood forest, their group wouldn't encounter too much of a threat. Moreover, as they went deeper, they also discovered that there were no other powerful exotic beasts in the blood forest. It seemed that the experts of the universe tribulation who were heavily injured by the blood forest were all injured by the formation formed by the terrain of the blood forest. When they reached the depths of the blood forest, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. Duan Jipeng and Lin Long looked at Zhuowen's back with excitement. If not for Zhuowen, a god array master, they would have to barge their way through the blood forest. And the price they had to pay could be said to be enormous. That's Divine Medicine Garden? Suddenly, Lin Long and his wife cried out in surprise. In front of them, there was a huge open space surrounded by blood-colored rocks, and there was a medicinal garden. Inside this medicinal garden, there were many medicinal fields. In each medicinal field, there were divine medicines with oppressive medicinal auras. Let's go. Let's go in and take a look. However, don't act rashly, because there are also terrifying restrictive formations inside. Zhuowen reminded Duan Jipeng and the other two, who had originally lost their minds because of the medicinal garden, immediately became much more clear-headed after being reminded by Zhuowen. The group of 4 carefully walked into the medicinal garden. Sure enough, they discovered that the medicinal fields in the medicinal garden were basically surrounded by large formations that were seething with murderous intent. There were even some medicinal fields that had extremely powerful guardian puppets in them. At the same time, they also discovered that several medicinal fields were bare. From the shattered array patterns around them, it could be seen that the restrictions on these medicinal fields were forcefully broken by someone. Obviously, It should be the doing of the universe tribulation experts who had forcefully barged in to seize the divine medicines. The three of you, I only want that medicinal field. The rest of the medicinal fields will be divided equally among you three. How about it? Zhuowen suddenly pointed to the medicinal field in the deepest part of the medicinal garden. In that medicinal field, it was the smallest medicinal field in the medicinal garden. Beside the medicinal field, there was a simple and crude hut. Although this medicinal field was small, the quality of the divine medicines planted in it was extremely high. The worst was a half-step eternal rank divine medicine, and there were many eternal rank 1 divine medicines. Duan Jipeng, Lin Long, and his wife looked at each other and agreed to Zhuowen's suggestion. Chapter 41:29. Over the next period of time, Zhuowen found the eye of the formation in every plot of land and told them the corresponding method to get through the formations. He got Duan Jipeng and the others to get through the formations in the divine medicinal garden themselves. He went to the deepest part of the herb field. Although the herb field was not big, the array restriction on its surface was the most complicated one in the divine herb garden. If Zhuowen was right, the array restriction on the herb field had reached the peak of the first heaven of the eternal grade. Even if it was Zhuowen, he would still need some time before he could remove the restriction. In the blink of an eye, several days passed. Duan Jipeng and Lin Long had found the array core and broken a part of the herb field. They had already gained a lot. On the other hand, Zhuowen was still sitting in front of the deepest part of the herb field, like an old monk. The array restriction on the surface of the herb field did not budge and was not broken. This calmness only lasted for 10 days. Zhuowen, who had been motionless, suddenly opened his eyes. Then his 10 fingers were like flames dancing on a flame, constantly dancing in the air. As his 10 fingers danced, numerous complicated and dense runes were born from his fingertips. These array runes were like a monstrous tsunami. They surged out and violently attacked the array in front of them. Boom, boom, boom. The array, which was originally as calm as water, shook violently the moment it came into contact with the array runes. Waves of violent ripples emerged, and strange cracking sounds came from the array runes. Zhuowen's eyes were calm. For the past 10 days, he had been looking for the array core of the array core. Now that he had found it, he was very confident in breaking the array core. Crack! Suddenly, a crisp, cracking sound came from the array core. Then, dense cracks appeared on the surface of the array core. In a spurt of energy, Zhuowen increased the output of the formation patterns. In the end, the formation could not hold on any longer and completely collapsed. Duan Jipeng and Lin Long also noticed the commotion on Zhuowen's side, but they didn't go forward. After all, they had already allocated the herb field. It was against the rules to enter Zhuowen's herb field without permission. After stepping into the medicinal field, Zhuowen found that the lowest level of divine herbs in this medicinal field was half-step eternal grade, while the highest had reached the peak of rank 1 eternal grade. At a glance, there were more than a dozen eternal rank 1 divine herbs, and even more half-step eternal rank divine herbs. Zhuowen's eyes blazed as he stepped into the medicinal field and carefully plucked the divine herbs. Then, he took out a jade box that he had prepared in advance from the outside world and placed them inside one by one, carefully preserving them. After Zhuowen collected the divine herbs in the herb field, his gaze fell on the little cottage not far from the herb field. This was the only building in the divine herb garden. Although it was inconspicuous, it was quite strange that it was built in such a precious divine herb garden. Zhuowen stepped into the cottage. The decoration inside was very simple. There was only a straw mat, a bamboo table, and a bamboo chair. Other than that, there was nothing else. Zhuowen frowned slightly. He began to search the entire cottage. After looking inside and out, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. This was the most ordinary thatched hut. Suddenly, Zhuowen noticed an inconspicuous groove on the stone slab next to the straw mat. He gently tapped with his right hand. Suddenly, as if struck by lightning, a strange golden thunderbolt burst out from it and fell into Zhuowen's body. Finally, someone broke into the herb field, where I passed away. Boy, you must be a divine, a ray master, at the first heaven of eternal grade. Otherwise, it would be impossible for you to break into the core of my herb field. Be obedient and don't resist. After I take over your body, I will naturally make your name resound throughout the world, and you will never be destroyed. The golden thunderbolt followed Zhuowen's meridians and quickly swept towards Zhuowen's divine soul in between his eyebrows. The gloomy voice resounded in Zhuowen's mind. Possession? Zhuowen's pupils shrank. He immediately understood the golden thunderbolt's intention. However, Zhuowen didn't resist. Instead, he revealed a faint mocking smile. Hee, how obedient! Since you are so cooperative, I will live in your name in the future. Don't worry, I will definitely let you walk to the peak of the experts. You can go without worry. Seeing that Zhuowen really didn't resist, the golden thunderbolt was overjoyed. It rushed towards the depths of Zhuowen's divine soul at an even faster speed. However, the moment the golden thunderbolt entered the depths of Zhuowen's divine soul, the two primordial stones that were originally located in his divine soul immediately burst out with extremely blazing purple light. Then they automatically launched a fierce attack against the golden thunderbolt. What is this? This is the primordial stone. No, don't strangle my divine soul. I was wrong. I won't take over your body again. A shrill scream reverberated in the depths of Zhuowen's divine soul. Then it came to an abrupt end. This powerful divine soul had been refined by the primordial stone and turned into nutrients to nourish Zhuowen's divine soul. Humph! Take over my body? Isn't that courting death? Zhuowen sneered. In the past, he had experienced being taken over many times. However, due to the protection of the primordial stone, the person who took over his body was basically dead. What a surging divine soul power. It seems that the owner of this divine soul should be an expert at the peak of the great calamity of heaven and earth. Zhuowen felt that his divine soul was rapidly becoming stronger. His eyes suddenly revealed a look of pleasant surprise. Originally, after his Array Tao level broke through to the first heaven of the eternal grade, his divine soul had undergone a great transformation. It had reached the early stage of the great calamity of heaven and earth. However, this time, under the nourishment of this divine soul power, his divine soul power was skyrocketing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, it broke through to the middle stage of the great calamity of heaven and earth. Moreover, the growth of his divine soul power did not stop at all. It continued to break through until it reached the peak of the great calamity of heaven and earth. Zhuowen was pleasantly surprised. After absorbing the power of this mysterious divine soul, his divine soul had undergone a great transformation. With the help of his powerful divine soul power, his Array Tao and Alchemy Tao could be further improved in a short period of time. In addition, the power of his divine soul sword essence was probably finally able to threaten the experts of the great calamity of heaven and earth. This could be considered one of his current trump cards. Just as Zhuowen was feeling excited, a surge of information poured into the depths of his mind, like a tide. This should be the memory of this divine soul. This guy is actually an Array Tao master and alchemy master at the first heaven of the eternal grade. When he checked this memory, Zhuowen was pleasantly surprised. The divine soul's owner's Alchemy Tao and Array Tao level were extremely high. They were both above him. Chapter 4130. From Bai Tiangong's memories, Zhuowen also understood quite a bit about the cosmic Dharma powerhouse. This cosmic Dharma powerhouse was called Lu Yanhua. He was an extremely powerful independent cultivator and was rather famous in the 100 domains. It was said that Lu Yanhua had died because he had been severely injured by the combined forces of several experts from higher domains while fighting for information on a historical site. He had fled to the Witch domain to hide. As Lu Yanhua's injuries were too severe, he had died here in the end. His grave was sealed in his Qiankuan world, while his Qiankuan world was hidden in the most dangerous Snowflame Valley in the Witch domain. As an absolute cosmic Dharma powerhouse, Lu Yanhua naturally had many followers. Bai Tiangong was one of his many followers and also one of Lu Yanhua's most valued subordinates. He had always looked after the divine medicinal garden for Lu Yanhua. As Lu Yanhua was heavily injured, his cosmic Dharma and Qiankuan world both collapsed. The followers he had placed in the Qiankuan world were unable to withstand the terrifying power, and most of them died on the spot. Bai Tiangong's luck was pretty good. His physical body had been destroyed in that battle. Fortunately, his soul was relatively strong, so he had managed to survive. Moreover, he had been hiding in the divine medicinal garden all this time, waiting for someone to enter the divine medicinal garden while he waited for an opportunity to possess the body. Unfortunately, Bai Tiangong had encountered Zhuowen. Possessing Zhuowen was undoubtedly courting death. With Bai Tiangong's memories, I know Lu Yanhua's grave like the back of my hand. Zhuowen's eyes shone brightly. He could not help but grin excitedly. Bai Tiangong was one of Lu Yanhua's most valued subordinates. He was far more familiar with Lu Yanhua's Qiankuan world than they were. Zhuowen had obtained Bai Tiangong's memories. Not only had he inherited Bai Tiangong's understanding of formations and pills, but he had also basically grasped this damaged Qiankuan world completely. Bai Tiangong really hid his strength well. He actually hid the yin-yang calamity pool in here. Zhuowen's eyes shone brightly. He arrived under the straw mat and swept it away with a wave of his sleeve. Under the straw mat, there was a bronze doorboard. On the surface of the doorboard, there were all kinds of complicated patterns, looking very mysterious. This bronze door was called the Heaven Deceiving Lock. It was a mechanism that Bai Tiangong had created himself. It could deceive the consciousness of the universe's Dharma adepts. It was an incredible mechanism. This was also the reason why Zhuowen couldn't find anything else under the straw mat even after searching for so long. Zhuowen unlocked the heaven concealing lock according to Bai Tiangong's memory. The bronze door opened to both sides, revealing a deep passageway. After Zhuowen entered the tunnel, he walked for about 15 minutes before reaching the bottom. At the end of the tunnel, there was a secret room made of bronze. In the center of the secret room, there was a black and white pool that was 10 feet wide. Strands of extremely terrifying tribulation energy surged within the pool. The water was like a whirlpool that constantly revolved and emitted a clamorous noise that sounded like rushing thunder. This must be the yin-yang calamity pool. Zhuowen's eyes were blazing. The yin-yang calamity pool was extremely valuable. Even the adepts of the great calamity of Qiankuan would be extremely jealous of it. This was because the yin-yang calamity pool could not only accelerate the cultivation of the ancient star transformation experts, but after absorbing the energy of the yin-yang calamity pool, it would effectively increase the resistance of the body to the great calamity of Qiankuan in the future. In addition, the adepts of the great calamity of Qiankuan could also use the yin-yang calamity pool to increase the power of the great calamity of Qiankuan in their Qiankuan world. To the adepts of the ancient star transformation and the great calamity of Qiankuan, this was a rare treasure. Zhuowen's current cultivation was at the middle stage of the ancient star transformation. If he used the Yin-Yang Calamity Pool, he would be able to make another breakthrough in a short period of time. Let's move the Yin-Yang Calamity Pool to the outside world. Zhuowen summoned Xiao He and asked Xiao He to cut out the entire bronze chamber and move it into the outside world. Xiao He's current strength was not inferior to his at all. In fact, she was even stronger. Therefore, although the bronze chamber was sturdy, it was a piece of cake for Xiao He. After putting away the Yin-Yang Calamity Pool, Zhuowen walked out of the small thatched cottage. He found that Duan Jiping and the other two were still working hard to break the restrictions on the remaining medicinal fields. He knew that it would take some time for Duan Jiping and the other two to divide up all the medicinal fields here. Zhuowen did not disturb the three of them. Instead, he silently entered the outside world. He could use this time to enter the Yin-Yang Calamity Pool to cultivate, hoping to make another breakthrough. Boom, boom. When Zhuowen entered the outside world, he immediately discovered that there was an extremely powerful energy fluctuation not far from the center of the outside world. Zhuowen's gaze fell on the island in the center. He saw two figures fighting fiercely on the lake around the island. What made Zhuowen feel even more strange was that the two figures fighting were a purple-black gold divine sword and a 1-year-old infant, especially the 1-year-old infant. His entire body was chubby, and on the surface of his crystal-clear skin, mysterious and powerful characters lit up. He gently waved his little fist, and the entire lake surged with waves that were tens of thousands of feet high. The purplish-black gold divine sword slashed out horizontally, slicing the terrifying wave in half. Then, the divine sword swept through the air, and a beam of sword energy shot out like lightning, fiercely standing between the baby's eyebrows. "Watch out!" Zhuowen's expression changed drastically. He immediately rushed over, but the sword chi was too fast. It had already landed between the infant's eyebrows. Bang! The infant was like a ball that had been kicked. He flew out and landed on the island. After rolling a dozen times on the ground, he barely managed to stop himself. Zhuowen landed beside the infant and picked him up. Only then did he discover that apart from a small red mark between the infant's eyebrows, he was completely unscathed. However, at this moment, the infant pouted his little mouth, and his large eyes were red. He actually began to bawl loudly. "So painful. Uncle Black, you're so mean. You hurt me." The infant's arms and legs flailed about, and his cries became louder and louder. Whoosh! The purple-black gold divine sword flew over and hovered near the infant. Xiao He appeared on the hilt of the sword. He rubbed his little paws and said with a guilty conscience, "Pa Tian, Uncle, I didn't hold back and forgot to control my strength. I apologize to you. Don't cry." As he spoke, Xiao He couldn't help but look at Zhuowen. His ears drooped, and he giggled foolishly. "All right, don't cry. You're not injured, are you?" Zhuowen shook his head in exasperation. Zhuowen had initially thought that the infant would cry even louder. After all, his consolation skills were very poor. However, to his surprise, the infant stopped crying. Instead, he pounced into Zhuowen's arms and said with a wide grin, My master has finally come to see me. This little guy is very smart. He learned how to speak in just a few days. He's been talking about you all this time. Furthermore, his physical body is extremely powerful. Even though I controlled my strength, it was still very powerful. He was still able to withstand it. This little guy has a bright future ahead of him. Xiao He transmitted his voice to Zhuowen. Chapter 41:31. Shirpatian blinked his big eyes and said crisply, "My master is my master. Anyway, since I was born, there was a voice in my head telling me that you are my master." Zhuowen didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he also knew that because Shur-Patian was born from his world, he had recognized him as his master. Next, Zhuowen asked Shur-Patian about his own origin, such as what the mysterious characters on his body were, and why he was born from a stone. However, to Zhuowen's disappointment, Shur-Patian was also ignorant. He only knew that the mysterious characters on his body seemed to be a set of cultivation methods. At present, he couldn't completely understand the meaning of the mysterious characters and could only understand one or two characters. It was just words. However, Shur-Patian also said that it seemed that as he grew older, he would naturally recognize more words. Zhuowen knew that the secrets on Shur-Patian's body might only be revealed after he grew up. Moreover, Zhuowen actually hoped that more intelligent creatures like Shur-Patian could be born in his macro world. This was because he could feel that the reproduction of intelligent creatures would give birth to civilization, and the development of civilization might cause earth-shaking changes in his macro world. As for what kind of changes would occur, perhaps the future would tell. After comforting Shur-Patian, Zhuowen went to the place where the Yin-Yang Calamity Pond was located. Shur-Patian was well-behaved. He knew that Zhuowen had important things to do, so he didn't pester Zhuowen. I hope this Yin-Yang Calamity Pond can bring me a different surprise. Zhuowen stood in the bronze secret chamber, silently staring at the black and white pool in front of him. He took off his clothes and jumped into the pool. Crackle! The moment Zhuowen was immersed in the pool, the whole pool resounded with firecracker-like muffled sounds. Waves of strange energy, like maggots, flowed into the depths of Zhuowen's body through the acupoints on his body. Zhuowen groaned. He felt extreme pain the moment the energy of the Yin-Yang Universe Calamity Pool surged into his body. It was as if he was being gnawed on by tens of thousands of ants. It was indescribable. However, the benefits were also very obvious. While he was in extreme pain, Zhuowen could clearly feel that the energy in the pool was constantly nourishing his body, meridians, and limbs. His cultivation, under the nourishment of the pool's energy, began to skyrocket at a speed visible to the naked eye. Time passed day by day, and Zhuowen's aura, who was immersed in the pool, was also strengthening day by day. Finally, on the 5th day, Zhuowen's aura reached its peak. Then a thunderous explosion resounded in his body, and his aura reached a whole new level. The effect of the Yin-Yang Calamity Pond is really amazing. It's only been 5 days, and I've successfully broken through to the late ancient star transformation stage. Zhuowen's eyes were filled with surprise as he cultivated the primordial technique. Although he had obtained strength that was far greater than his peers, the difficulty of cultivating it was also far greater than that of ordinary cultivators. With the help of the Yin-Yang Calamity Pond, he had only used 5 days to break through to the next stage. This showed how powerful the pool's effect was. The energy in the pool is still quite sufficient. It should be able to help me cultivate to the peak of the ancient star transformation stage. Zhuowen found that although the energy in the pool was slightly thinner than before, it was still very sufficient. He planned to continue cultivating, hoping to break through again. Time gradually passed, and Zhuowen's speed of absorbing the pool's energy became faster and faster. The movements of his cultivation also became bigger and bigger. Following that, the energy in the Yin-Yang Calamity Pond became thinner and thinner. The black and white pool water began to faintly turn transparent. This kind of cultivation continued for half a month. Finally, the energy in the pool water was completely absorbed by Zhuowen. Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes and looked at the pool water that had already become transparent. The corners of his mouth revealed a trace of a bitter smile. The energy in the Yin-Yang Calamity Pond was finally absorbed by me, but I haven't been able to successfully break through to the peak of the ancient star transformation stage. Zhuowen shook his head helplessly, but he was not discouraged. This was because he could feel that he was not far from the peak of the ancient star transformation stage. If he could still absorb enough energy, he would be able to smoothly break through immediately. Moreover, his strength had increased by a large margin since he had just broken through to the late ancient star transformation stage. With his current strength, it would be no problem for him to fight against an expert in the middle or late stages of the Yin-Yang Calamity Pond with his bare hands. If he used his trump card, his strength would be even stronger. Even those at the peak of the Yin-Yang Calamity Pond might not be his match. After Zhuowen left the bronze secret chamber, he found that in the center of the island, not far away, Xiaohe was teaching Sherpa Tian how to cultivate with her legs crossed. Although Sherpa Tian was young, he was extremely serious when cultivating. His posture was methodical, and he looked somewhat cute. Xiaohe noticed that Zhuowen had come out of seclusion. Just as she was about to greet him, she was stopped by Zhuowen, who shook his head. Zhuowen watched in silence for a while, then left the great world. At the same time, Duan Jipeng and Lin Long had finally finished distributing the medicinal fields in the divine herb garden. Brother Zhuo, thank you so much this time. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have such a great harvest. As soon as Duan Jipeng and the other two came in front of Zhuowen, they surrounded Zhuowen with great enthusiasm. In particular, Duan Jipeng was so excited that she held Zhuowen's hand and couldn't help herself. Lin Long and his wife were also grinning excitedly. They looked at Zhuowen with eyes full of gratitude. These 6 eternal-level divine herbs were put together by the 3 of us and planned to give to you. After all, your medicinal field is too small, and the number of divine herbs is too small. Instead, we divided such a large medicinal field equally. Duan Jipeng handed over 6 divine herbs to Zhuowen with a trace of embarrassment in her eyes. Obviously, they still felt a little guilty about dividing up most of the medicinal field. Zhuowen was slightly stunned as he gazed at the 6 divine herbs before him. After that, he smiled as he accepted them and said, "This is my choice. Moreover, the field I chose contains the inheritance of the master of the divine medicinal garden. Speaking of which, it's beneficial to me. Speaking of which, it's more valuable than divine herbs." Brother Zhuo, you're also an alchemist? Duan Jipeng looked at Zhuowen in surprise. My alchemy skills are not as good as my array skills. I'm only at heaven-breaking level 9. I'm ashamed. Zhuowen scratched his head and said, embarrassedly. Duan Jipeng and Lin Long looked at each other, speechless. This was really infuriating. Zhuowen's identity as a divine array master at first firmament eternal level was enough to stun them. Now, this guy was also a heaven-breaking level 9 alchemist. This was simply a monster. Chapter 41:32. You should have already searched this area. Now, let's go find that expert's grave. Zhuowen said with a smile. Brother Zhuo, do you know where the grave is? Duan Jipeng asked doubtfully. Zhuowen said with a smile. After receiving the inheritance of the Divine Herb Garden's owner, I also obtained the map of this place, so I know the exact location of the grave. Duan Jipeng and Lin Long were pleasantly surprised. Originally, when they entered the universe world, they were like blind men searching for an elephant. They had no idea where the real grave was. Now, Zhuowen had found the specific route map. To them, it was simply a pleasant surprise. After packing up for a while, they left the Blood Forest. At the periphery of the Blood Forest, many cultivators who had gathered there had already dispersed. Obviously, after knowing that they couldn't get the divine herbs in the Blood Forest, they gave up and went to explore other places in this world. After Zhuowen and the others left the Blood Forest, they headed north. In Bai Qiangong's memory, Zhuowen knew that Lu Yanhua's grave was hidden in a place called the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. Moreover, the Purple Flame Divine Mountain was surrounded by all kinds of extremely powerful restrictions, which were basically peak first heaven eternal great arrays. Ordinary experts of the universe tribulation would find it difficult to enter. Bai Tiangong had participated in the arrangement of the Purple Flame Divine Mountains array, so he knew the shortcut to enter the Purple Flame Divine Mountain without destroying the array. 2 days later, Zhuowen and the others finally arrived at the mountain range, where the Purple Flame Divine Mountain was located. This was a vast mountain range that stretched endlessly. In the center of the mountain range, a divine mountain burning with purple divine flames stood quietly in the mountain range. This was the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. The Purple Flame Divine Mountain burned with purple flames that seemed to never be extinguished. The scorching heat hit their faces. Even though Zhuowen and the others were tens of thousands of feet away, they could clearly feel the terrifying heat, which made them feel anxious and uncomfortable. Brother Zhua, look, there seems to be a lot of people gathered outside the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. Duan Jipeng suddenly pointed to the front and said in an unnatural voice. Zhuowen looked over. Indeed, there were many groups gathered outside the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. However, those teams were all stationed outside the Purple Flame Sacred Mountain. None of them attempted to enter the Purple Flame Sacred Mountain. It seems that the exact location of this tomb isn't a secret after all. Lin Long and his wife smiled bitterly. Zhuowen didn't say anything. Instead, he led the three of them to the periphery of the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. The group of cultivators gathered at the periphery of the Purple Flame Divine Mountain was clearly divided into 3 camps. One of the camps was led by the green-robed old man and was formed by the experts of the older generation who had undergone the great calamity of universe. The second group was led by Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua of the Sorcerer God clan. There were also many powerful rogue cultivators gathered in Mo Fengyu's group. The third group surprised Zhuowen. It was the group led by Suzhou and Ziyu. This group was basically made up of the geniuses on the outer realm celestial ranking that had entered this place. The rest were mostly unimportant rogue cultivators who didn't belong to any camp. Of course, these rogue cultivators were also quite self-aware. They didn't intend to compete with the 3 camps for the truly good things in the tomb. They only wanted to follow behind them and pick up the scraps. When Zhuowen's group arrived, Zhuowen immediately felt a gaze full of malice. He turned his head and saw Lai Rong and the black-robed old man behind Suzhou and Ziyu's group staring at him with hatred. Then Lai Rong came to Suzhou and Ziyu's side and whispered something. The 2 of them glanced at Zhuowen and then slowly descended in front of Zhuowen with Lai Rong. Ziyu's purple hair fluttered in the wind. Her mysterious purple eyes were filled with domineering and indisputable light. Brother, my name is Ziyu. I'm ranked 5th on the Outer Realm Celestial rankings. I'm from the Xiling region. I think you and Brother Lai Rong have some misunderstanding. How about this? I'll give you a chance to join our camp. You have to apologize to Brother Lai Rong and return all his things. How about it? Ziyu faintly looked at Zhuowen. There was a trace of arrogance in her expression. Kid, hand over my things, and obediently kneel down and apologize to me. Otherwise, you won't have a good ending. Lai Rong's eyes were full of arrogance as he spoke coldly. Zhuowen looked indifferently at Lai Rong, and then at Ziyu. He said playfully, I want to ask, who do you think you are? You dare to ask me to hand over my things and apologize to this trash? Is the Outer Realm Celestial rankings that great? Ziyu's expression immediately turned cold. The youth in front of her didn't have much cultivation, but his personality was very arrogant. This made her extremely unhappy. Just as Ziyu was about to speak, Lai Rong, who was standing beside her, couldn't help it. He said in exasperation, "Trash? You have the right to call me trash if you didn't trick me and use the array to self-destruct to seriously injure me. Do you think you would be my opponent with your little cultivation? If we fought face to face, I could destroy you in one move." Zhuowen looked at Lai Rong with a faint smile. "Seeing that you're so confident, I'll give you a chance to challenge me. I won't use array techniques. If you can take one move from me, then I can even give you my life." Duan Jipeng and Linlong were shocked. They hurriedly signaled Zhuowen with their eyes. They knew that Zhuowen wasn't weak, but that was with his array techniques. Now, Zhuowen actually didn't use array techniques to fight Lai Rong one-on-one. Wasn't this using one's weakness to attack the other's strength? After all, Lai Rong was a genius ranked 72nd on the Outer Realm Celestial rankings. His strength was much stronger than Guxing's peak cultivators. How could Zhuowen defeat the former in one move? You also looked at Zhuowen strangely. She secretly shook her head. She felt that Zhuowen was too arrogant. "Good. You said it yourself. Take one move from you. Haha, I think I should be the one to destroy you." Lai Rong was so angry that he laughed. "Brother Duan, get out of the way first. It's only a matter of one move to deal with him. It'll be quick." Zhuowen looked at the worried Duan Jipeng and the other two. Duan Jipeng and the other two sighed. They also knew that it was useless to persuade them now. They could only obediently step aside. Ziyu was also quite self-aware. She also stepped back to give Zhuowen and Lai Rong some space to fight. Zhuowen and Lai Rong's movements also attracted the attention of the other two camps. "That's Lai Rong of the Nuwa clan. It looks like he wants to fight one-on-one. Who's the other youth?" Mo Fenyo's gaze fell on Zhuowen. He was rather surprised. Mo Liuhua shook his head. Lu Yingying, who was standing beside him, had a strange look in her eyes. She had seen Zhuowen before, and naturally recognized Zhuowen at a glance. Chapter 41:33. Lu Yingying said, scornfully, "I know this person. He is the young man who escorted my niece's group. I remember his name is Zhuowen." "Oh, is he the arrogant brat who claimed to have defeated the guardian of the Goldwater domain, Saiku Hongfei?" Mo Liuhua suddenly asked. He originally did not care about Zhuowen at all. The reason why he had some impression of Zhuowen was that Lu Yingying had mentioned to him that Zhuowen claimed to have defeated Saiku Hongfei, an expert of the great calamity of Qiankuan. At that time, Zhuowen's cultivation was still very low. He was only in the middle stage of the ancient star transformation. Lai Rong is a genius on the Outer Realm heavenly list. He is extremely powerful and has killed an expert of the half-step great carefree realm. He even chased after an expert of the early stage of the great calamity of Qiankuan. However, he failed in the end and escaped. Does this brat really think that he can look down on a genius like Lai Rong just because his cultivation has reached the late stage of the ancient star transformation? How stupid! Mo Liuhua shook his head as a mocking smile appeared on his face. "He is just an arrogant brat. Husband, why do you care?" Lu Yingying said with a smile. Lu Yingying originally had a glimmer of hope for Zhuowen. However, she was extremely disappointed by Zhuowen's performance. It seemed that not allowing Zhuowen to follow Shan Lingyun into the Sorcerer God City was indeed the right choice. "You are Zhuowen, right? Soon, you will pay the price for your arrogance. If you don't use the array Dao, you are just a piece of trash. What do you have to compete with me?" Lai Rong's eyes revealed a ferocious look as he summoned his natal lone star. His natal lone star was many times larger than an ordinary ancient star transformation cultivator. It emitted a white glow. Upon closer inspection, the surface of the natal lone star was shrouded in endless ice and snow. The moment Lai Rong summoned his natal lone star, Zhuowen could clearly feel that the surrounding temperature was rapidly dropping as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Lai Rong's face was expressionless. He formed a seal with both hands and blasted out into the void. The white natal star, suspended in the void behind him, cut through the void and blasted fiercely towards Zhuowen. At the same time, Lai Rong took out his life-bound god artifact, a divine spear engraved with icy blue dragons. He strode through the air and followed closely behind his life-bound star, launching a terrifying attack at Zhuo when like a thunderbolt. Brother Zhuo, be careful. This Lai Rong's strength is not simple. He is much stronger than ordinary ancient star peak cultivators. Duan Jipeng and Lin Long hurriedly reminded Zhuowen. If it wasn't for Zhuowen glaring at the three of them, they might have already rushed up to block Lai Rong's terrifying attack for Zhuowen. Zhuowen silently hovered in midair. His body moved without any wind, and his shoulder-length black hair fluttered in the wind. In the blink of an eye, Lai Rong stepped on his life star and arrived near Zhuowen. His aura was like a rainbow, and his killing intent was like a dragon. Heavenly Ice God's net. Lai Rong raised his divine spear and swung it down fiercely. Terrifying divine power gathered at the tip of the divine spear like a tide. Then it smashed fiercely towards Zhuowen's head. The icy blue natal lone star was charging straight at Zhuowen from the front with an unparalleled momentum, as if it was going to crush Zhuowen's entire body into powder. Zhuowen slowly raised his head. He grinned at Lai Rong and said softly, "Only have this little trick? You're really too weak." Zhuowen's voice was not loud, but it spread across the sky like thunder. Almost everyone present heard it clearly. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Zhuowen slowly took a step forward. Then a terrifying aura quickly rushed out of Zhuowen's body and rushed into the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Then the earth cracked and huge stars quickly floated out from the depths of the earth. There were hundreds of stars revolving around Zhuowen in an irregular trajectory. And Lai Rong's life star, just as it arrived not far from Zhuowen, it was immediately blocked by several stars and bounced away. And the moment this life star bounced away, even more stars shot out like hidden weapons and smashed onto Lai Rong's life star, smashing it and sending it flying in all directions. At the same time, even more stars brutally blasted towards Lai Rong. Lai Rong was caught off guard and was hit by several stars. He grunted and retreated repeatedly, his face becoming rather pale. How can you have so many life stars? Lai Rong was completely shocked. He had never seen a cultivator with such a terrifying amount of life-bound lone stars. Even that freak who was ranked first on the Outer Realm heavenly list didn't have as many life-bound lone stars as Zhuo when he entered the ancient star transformation. I haven't even made a move, and you're already in such a sorry state. Looks like I overestimated you. You're even more useless than I thought. Zhuowen shook his head, his interest waning. He raised his right hand into the air and then slowly lowered it. At this moment, the surrounding stars seemed to have stopped in time, all of them coming to a standstill. Of course, this kind of standstill was only for an instant. Then, the stars rushed out one after another, smashing towards Lai Rong, who was not far away. No, Lai Rong looked at the stars that filled the sky rushing towards him. His face completely turned ghastly pale, and the depths of his eyes were filled with deep fear. Boom, boom, boom. Earth-shaking collisions continuously resounded in the sky. Lai Rong's body was truly too small compared to the numerous stars. Even Lai Rong's life star had already been torn apart by the terrifying collisions of the numerous stars, and Lai Rong's figure was completely drowned out, unable to be seen at all. "Young master!" The expression of the black-robed old man from the Nuwa clan completely changed. He charged into the core surrounded by countless stars without any regard for his own safety. The black-robed old man was worthy of being a supreme expert of the universe calamity. Although he had been injured by Duan Jipeng earlier, his strength was still not to be underestimated. Zhuowen's life star could not stop him at all, and it was blasted away one by one. When the black-robed old man blasted away the surrounding stars, he finally saw Lai Rong, who was trapped in the core. At this moment, Lai Rong's entire body was dripping with blood. His body was on the verge of collapse, and his aura was almost non-existent. He was on the verge of death. Zhuowen waved his sleeve, and the hundreds of stars returned to his body. They rapidly rotated in irregular trajectories, making him look like a god that had descended to the mortal world. The periphery of the purple flame divine mountain was completely silent. Lai Rong, who was ranked 72nd on the Outer World Heaven ranking, was an extremely famous genius among the younger generation of the entire 100 domains. Now, Lai Rong was fighting a young man whose cultivation was even lower than his. Not only did he not win, he was even beaten to the brink of death by a single move. This was too terrifying. Chapter 4134. Lai Rong was actually defeated in one move. This person has some strength. Ziyu's purple eyes stared intently at Zhuowen. She muttered to herself in her heart, "Interesting. This youth's cultivation is not high, but his strength is so strong. His background is probably not small." Su Zhou slowly landed beside Ziyu. Because he was wearing a silver mask, it was impossible to see his expression. However, his tone was a bit more approving. He's too arrogant. Although his strength is not bad, there is still a gap between him and the geniuses in the top 10 of the Outer Realm leaderboard. Even I can't stand his level of arrogance. Ziyu said coldly. Su Zhou did not answer Ziyu's question. Instead, he smiled faintly. "If possible, we can pull this person into our camp. He defeated our camp's Lai Rong. If we pull him in, I'm afraid it's not appropriate." Ziyu frowned. "Our team doesn't need losers. Since Lai Rong failed, then he has no value. Our team doesn't need trash like him," Su Zhou said indifferently. Ziyu's heart trembled, but she did not refute. She understood the personality of this old opponent in front of her quite well. In the Wushan clan's team, Lu Yingying covered her cherry lips with her hand. Her beautiful eyes looked at this scene in disbelief. In her opinion, Lai Rong, a genius on the Outer Realm leaderboard, should be able to easily defeat Zhuowen in a battle with Zhuowen. But now, unexpectedly, the one who was taken care of was Lai Rong. Moreover, he was taken care of in one move. This was a little too scary, wasn't it? Soon, Lu Yingying remembered that Shan Lingyun had mentioned to her that Zhuowen had defeated Saikou Hongfei. She did not care about it at all and only thought that Shan Lingyun had been deceived by Zhuowen. But now, after seeing Zhuowen's strength, she was somewhat moved by Shan Lingyun's words. Could it be that Zhuowen had really defeated a great tribulation expert like Saikou Hongfei? He actually won. Mo Liuhua frowned slightly and muttered to himself in surprise. This child is not simple. His life lone star is too strange. He actually has so many life lone stars. Within the same level, I'm afraid there are few who are his opponents, Mo Fengyu said, rather solemnly. Then, Mo Fengyu's sharp gaze fell on Lu Yingying. He said lightly, "Yingying, I heard that this child is your niece's friend. If he has such strength, we can try to win him over." Lu Yingying was stunned. She originally wanted to refuse. After all, she had mocked Zhuowen Fengyu. However, After sensing Mo Fengyo's unquestionable gaze, her expression changed. She had no choice but to nod and agree. "Little bastard, you're so ruthless. You actually crippled the young master." The black-robed old man roared furiously. He leaped out and transformed into a sharp ray of light that shot towards Zhuowen. A terrifying aura surged out, causing the surrounding space to distort in large areas. Everyone's expression changed when they sensed the terrifying aura from the black-robed elder, a peak Great Tribulation expert. I didn't expect the Nuwa clan to value Lai Rong so much. They actually sent such an expert to protect Lai Rong. That young man is in trouble. The crowd was in an uproar as their gazes fell upon Zhuowen. Their eyes were filled with pity. "Humph, you must accept your loss. Old man, don't go too far." At the same time, Duan Jipeng, who had been watching the battle, saw the black-robed elder make a move. He snorted coldly and stood in front of Zhuowen. The black-robed elder and Duan Jipeng fiercely collided. Two enormous universe world phantoms floated in the sky, and endless tribulation energy wreaked havoc and exploded. Everything within tens of thousands of miles fell into a terrifying state of collapse. The ground in this area had turned into an abyss, and the thick clouds in the sky had dispersed. Then, everyone was shocked to discover that the black-robed elder, who had an imposing aura, had been forced back in a rather sorry state. Duan Jipeng, on the other hand, had only taken a few steps back. His back was straight as he floated in the air. His sharp gaze was cold as he stared at the black-robed elder, who was in a rather sorry state. At this moment, everyone was shocked. The attack of the black-robed old man at the peak of the great calamity of heaven and earth had been blocked. Another peak Great Tribulation expert. Where did this young man come from? He actually has such an expert as a teammate. After sensing Duan Jipeng's terrifying aura, everyone's expressions became extremely solemn. Zhuowen had almost killed Lai Rong with a single move, and Duan Jipeng had repelled the black-robed elder with a single move. There were also the Lin Long couple with strong auras. Although Zhuowen's team did not have the advantage in numbers, their strength could not be underestimated. "What? Do you still want to come? You're just a defeated opponent." Duan Jipeng stared at the black-robed elder. A trace of deep killing intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. He had a life-and-death feud with the Nuwa clan. He had long wanted to kill this group of Nuwa clan bastards. However, there were too many people here. He obviously could not completely use his full strength to deal with any future troubles. The black-robed elder also felt the killing intent in Duan Jipeng's eyes. His heart trembled, although he felt that it was strange. He fell into a rare silence and did not dare to clamor anymore. "The two of you, let's talk things over. It's not worth it to fight before we even enter the tomb. The two of you should give me Ziyu face and temporarily put aside your grudges. After we enter the tomb together, no one will care how you fight." Ziyu walked forward with a smile. She was smiling insincerely and acted as a peacemaker. "Nephew Ziyu is right. The two of you should calm down. Now is the time for us to work together to break this purple flame divine mountain. All the fighting now is meaningless." At the same time, the Wushan clan's camp and the green-robed elders' camp came forward and tried to persuade them. When Duan Jipeng saw that the people from the three camps had come, he restrained the killing intent in his eyes. He said lightly, "The Nuwa clan is really shameless. You want to bully the weak. If there's a next time, I won't be merciful just because you're from the Nuwa clan." The black-robed elder was full of anger. He looked at Duan Jipeng and Zhuowen with resentment, but did not say anything. Instead, he brought the seriously injured Lai Rong to a corner not far away and began to take out magical pills to treat Lai Rong's injuries. I haven't asked for your distinguished name yet. Which region are you from? Ziyu smiled and looked at Duan Jipeng. I'm Duanhua. I'm just a nameless rogue cultivator. Not worth mentioning. Duan Jipeng said, lightly. He was still wanted by the Nuwa clan, so he always used a fake name to outsiders. So it's Brother Duan. I think Brother Duan should be the leader of this team. Our camp wants to invite you to cooperate with us. I don't need to say our camp's strength. You can see it. Ziyu smiled. Duan Jipeng shook his head. The leader this time is not me, but my brother Zhua. Our team's important matters are all decided by him. Chapter 41:35. So it's Brother Zhua, little Brother Zhua. I'm Suzhou. I'm very interested in you. I hope you can join our camp. Just as Ziyu was feeling awkward, the silver-masked Suzhou slowly walked over and spoke in a gentle voice. Ziyu was quite tactful and retreated behind Suzhou. Zhuowen looked indifferently at Suzhou. Just as he was about to speak, the people from the other two camps also came over. Little Brother Zhua, your team is also made up of individual cultivators. It's right for you to join our camp. After all, whether it's Suzhou or the Wushan clan's team, they aren't very friendly to individual cultivators. As individual cultivators, we should support each other. The green-robed elder's lips moved slightly as he invited them rather enthusiastically. Brother Gu, you're wrong. This little brother has a deep relationship with our Wushan clan. He might not be fated with you. Mo Fengyu smiled faintly, his face full of confidence. Under Mo Liuhua's meaningful glance, Lu Yingying braced herself and walked over. She forced a smile at Zhuowen and said, Zhuowen, you should still remember me, right? I'm Ling Yun's aunt, Lu Yingying. Zhuowen glanced at Lu Yingying indifferently and said indifferently, Senior Lu must be joking. We've only just met. So this Zhua naturally remembers Senior. Seeing that Zhuowen didn't ignore her, Lu Yingying heaved a sigh of relief. She said rather enthusiastically, Zhuowen, I know that you're Ling Yun's disciple. Speaking of which, you and I have a deep relationship. You and your team's strength is indeed not bad. Our Wushan clan's team isn't weak either. I want to invite you to join our team. You won't refuse on account of Ling Yun, right? The green-robed elder and Suzhou frowned slightly. They didn't expect that Zhuowen had such a relationship with Lu Yingying of the Wushan clan. Didn't that mean that they had no chance at all? Although Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua didn't say anything, they couldn't help but reveal a smug expression. In their opinion, Zhuowen would definitely agree to let Lu Yingying join their team. But Zhuowen shook his head and said, Senior Lu, I'm really sorry. Our small team is enough. We don't wish to join any team. Thank you for your kindness. Lu Yingying's expression changed slightly, while Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua frowned. Their expressions became unsightly. Little brother, Zhua, don't tell me you don't care about our old friendship. After all, Shan Lingyun and the others are still in our shaman god city. Mo Liuhua grunted coldly. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes as a dangerous glint flashed across his eyes. Clan leader Mo, are you threatening me? Mo Liuhua smiled faintly and said, I'm not threatening you. It's just that Shan Lingyun and the rest are living under someone else's roof after all. This kind of feeling is sometimes involuntary. Lu Yingying's expression changed slightly. She didn't expect Mo Liuhua to use Shan Lingyun as an excuse. However, she didn't dare to have any objections. Her heart was filled with sorrow. Clan leader Mo, I think you'd better act rationally. Otherwise, you'll bring trouble to your clan. When the time comes, it'll be too late for regrets. Zhuowen said indifferently. Mo Liuhua and Mo Fengyu looked coldly at Zhuowen. What an arrogant brat. Was he threatening the entire shaman god clan? Humph. Let's wait and see. When we enter the Purple Flame Sacred Mountain, we'll see if little brother Zhua can escape unscathed. After all, there are many experts this time. Who knows if you might die in there? Mo Liuhua sneered. Then there's no need for clan leader Mo to worry. Zhuowen said calmly, Let's go. Mo Liuhua knew that it was impossible for Zhuowen to join their camp. Therefore, he didn't ask for a rebuff and left with the Shaman God Clan's team. Su Zhou and the green-robed old man also knew that Zhuowen had no intention of joining any camp. Therefore, they didn't invite Zhuowen and left resentfully. Brother Zhua, isn't it too thoughtless to reject all three camps at once? Lin Long and his wife asked Zhuowen cautiously. They were trembling with fear. After all, there were too many experts in the three camps. Their team couldn't be compared to the three camps. Zhuowen smiled and said, We have the shortcut to enter the tomb. We'll definitely get the things in the tomb. Before they do, if we join their camp, we'll be discovered as soon as they leave the team. That'll be the most disadvantageous for us. Now that we're in a neutral state, we'll be the most inconspicuous. When the three camps join forces to break the restriction on the Purple Flame Divine Mountain, we'll be able to leave quietly and act alone. Duan Jipeng and Lin Long finally understood Zhuowen's plan. They couldn't help but give Zhuowen a thumbs up. Everyone, we're just wasting time. Why don't we do this? Let's join forces to break the restriction on the Purple Flame Divine Mountain first. Finally, Mo Fengyu of the Shaman God Clan couldn't help but make a suggestion. The leaders of the other two camps smiled. They had been waiting for someone to make this suggestion. The restriction on the surface of the Purple Flame Divine Mountain is very powerful. Its power is almost at the second sky of eternal grade. It's difficult for an ordinary divine, a ray master of the first sky of eternal grade, to break it, unless it's a second sky of eternal grade heaven and earth array master or several eternal grade heaven and earth array masters. Only divine array masters of the first sky of eternal grade can break it. With so many experts joining forces to assist the divine array masters, there may be a high chance of breaking this formation. Su Zhou said calmly, We only have one divine array master of the first sky of eternal grade in our team. Mo Fengyu said helplessly. Us too. The green-robed elder shrugged. We have two. Including you, there's a total of 4. After finding the formation, I will break the formation with the guidance of the divine array master. We should be able to break the terrifying restriction on the Purple Flame Divine Mountain in a short time. Su Zhou said faintly. The green-robed elder, Mo Fengyu, and the others looked at each other and sighed in their hearts. Su Zhou, Ziyu, and the others were indeed geniuses from powerful realms. They could bring 2 divine array masters of the first sky of eternal grade. Their foundation was extraordinarily strong. After the 3 camps reached an agreement, they each sent divine array masters to join forces to find the formation I. About a quarter of an hour later, the 4 divine array masters found the formation I of the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. The formation I of the Purple Flame Divine Mountain was located on the peak of the Divine Mountain. There, a bead burning with purple flames was suspended. The source of the purple flames in the entire Divine Mountain came from this bead. Everyone, whether we can break the restriction on the Purple Flame Divine Mountain and enter the tomb to fight for the treasures, depends on whether we can destroy this formation I. Everyone, let's put down our grudges and do our best. Chapter 41:36. After the Wushan clan team attacked, the green-robed elder, Su Zhou, and Ziyu's teams were not willing to fall behind. They all launched their own attacks. all kinds of dazzling light spilled out in all directions. The purple flame divine mountain exploded with dazzling light. It was very dazzling and eye-piercing. The moment the three teams attacked, many independent cultivators who did not belong to the three teams were also encouraged to attack. They all joined in the attack on the formation core. Immediately, with the purple flame divine mountain as the center, the entire ground shook violently. Extremely ear-piercing and terrifying explosions erupted. On the summit of the purple flame divine mountain, there was an explosion of multicolored energy. The purple pearl hanging high on the summit trembled slightly and then exploded with extremely terrifying energy. The purple flames that seemed like they would never be extinguished all over the divine mountain were all mobilized at this moment. They suddenly rose and condensed on the summit. They began to recklessly collide with all kinds of terrifying energy coming from the outside. What shocked everyone was that the combined attack of so many cultivators was actually blocked by the blazing purple flames. Everyone, I've said it before, don't hold back. If you hold back now, we won't even be able to break into the purple flame divine mountain. Then what's the point of holding back your strength? It won't be of any use at all. Mo Fengyu roared in exasperation. He took the lead and summoned his Qianquan world, erupting with even more terrifying power. Encouraged by Mo Feiyu, Ziyu, Suzhou, and the green-robed elder no longer held back. They all used their full strength. Boom, boom. Even more terrifying attacks came one after another. They were like waves, each wave higher than the last. What made everyone excited was that the purple flames on the divine mountain were faintly suppressed by them. They also believed that with the passage of time, they would eventually break through the formation core of the divine mountain and then charge into the divine mountain. However, what no one noticed was that there were 4 people who quietly withdrew from the besieging team and quietly circled to the back of the purple flame divine mountain. These 4 people were Zhuowen, Duan Jipeng, and the other 2. Brother Zhua, is this shortcut of yours reliable? Duan Jipeng asked worriedly. It should be reliable. After all, Bai Tiangong was one of the most important people under this expert. His memory shouldn't have any problems. Zhuowen glanced at the sacred mountain behind him and continued. Moreover, as you can see, the number of experts in the 3 factions is much greater than ours. We are at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. If he were to compete with them head-on, he would have no chance at all. If you have an advantage, you might miss out on a great opportunity. With this shortcut, we can enter the tomb earlier. This is a great opportunity for us. Although Duan Jipeng and Lin Long were still worried, they were more excited. This was the tomb of a cosmic Dharma adept. If they could really plunder the treasures in advance, they would really be rich. Keep a lookout. If you see any adepts coming, kill them immediately. I will look for the entrance to the shortcut first. After Zhuowen finished speaking, he approached a crack on the back of the divine mountain. According to Bai Tiangong's memory, the entrance to the shortcut should be near this crack. Duan Jipeng, Lin Long, and Lin Long nodded repeatedly. Then they looked around vigilantly and used their consciousness to carefully scan the surroundings. Fortunately, the back of the purple flame divine mountain was very remote. Most of the people gathered here were at the front of the divine mountain. In addition, when Zhuowen entered the back of the mountain, he had secretly set up a large shielding array around the area. Therefore, the people who broke through the front would not be able to detect them with their consciousness, Duan Jipeng, and the other 2 were keeping a lookout mainly to prevent people from suddenly coming to the back of the divine mountain and seeing them, thus exposing their whereabouts. The depths of the crack were dark and deep, and the terrain was very complicated. The entrance to the so-called shortcut was in the deepest part of the crack. Zhuowen walked in a strange pace as he slowly approached the depths of the crack. There were all kinds of traps in this crack. If he didn't follow the special steps, he might trigger a trap. At that time, things would become extremely troublesome. Thankfully, Zhuowen had obtained Bai Tiangong's memories and knew how to walk through the crack. Otherwise, even if he knew that there was a shortcut here, he would probably trigger a trap because of his wrong step and be trapped inside. Not long after, Zhuowen arrived at the end of the crack. What appeared in front of Zhuowen was a small space surrounded by 3 giant rocks. The strange thing was that these 3 giant rocks were emitting a faint blue light. Although the light was weak, it was much brighter than the completely dark crack passage. In the faint blue light, a bronze key with patterns all over its body floated. At the same time, Zhuowen also noticed that in the center of the giant rock at the front, there was a black keyhole. The shape of the keyhole was exactly the same as the bronze key. Zhuowen pondered for a moment, then took off the bronze key and inserted it into the keyhole. Ka. Zhuowen gently turned the key, and the giant rock in front of him emitted a strange, muffled sound. Then, the giant rock disappeared in front of Zhuowen's eyes, revealing a black staircase behind it. From the upward trend of the stairs, it could be seen that the stairs were going up. Phew, I finally found it. Zhuowen revealed a relaxed smile on his face, then returned the way he came and gathered Duan Jipeng and the other 2. Zhuowen brought the 3 of them with a special pace. After passing through the crack passage, they once again arrived in front of the stairs. This staircase should be the shortcut to enter the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. Zhuowen looked around at the 3 of them. After receiving their affirmative answers, he led the 3 of them onto the stairs. Not long after Zhuowen's group of 4 entered the shortcut, Suzhou, who was originally attacking the Eye of the Formation together, noticed that Zhuowen's group of 4 was not present. After all, Zhuowen's group of 4 was not weak. Moreover, there was Duan Jipeng, who was at the peak of the cosmic tribulation. This was worthy of everyone's attention. Suzhou wasn't the only one who noticed. Even Mo Faiyu, Mo Liuhua, and the green-robed elder of the Sorcerer God clan noticed. What about Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng's group? They didn't participate in the attack on the Eye of the Formation, did they? I didn't see them take action. Mo Faiyu frowned slightly as he looked at the people of the other 2 factions. Yes, they didn't take action at all. And now, the 4 of them are not present at the scene. Did anyone notice where they went? Suzhou asked in a somewhat cold tone. I noticed that the 4 of them seemed to have gone to the back of the Divine Mountain. As for why they went there, we don't know. Suddenly, a wandering cultivator spoke, pointing to the back of the Purple Flame Divine Mountain and speaking rather cautiously. Chapter 4137. Seeing Suzhou suddenly rush towards the back of the mountain, the leaders of the other 2 camps looked at each other. After instructing the others to continue attacking the Eye of the Formation, Mo Faiyu, the green-robed elder, Ziyu, and the others followed. When they arrived at the back of the mountain, they found that Suzhou had stopped in front of a crack. His face was green and white. Suzhou, there's no one here. It seems that Zhuowen and the others have already left. The green-robed elder came to Suzhou's side and asked doubtfully. No, Zhuowen and the others may have already entered this crack. There may be a path to the depths of Purple Flame Divine Mountain in this crack. Ziyu said with a gloomy face. What? How do you know that this crack is the path to the depths of Purple Flame Divine Mountain? Mo Faiyu turned pale with fright and asked calmly. Have you forgotten? Ziyu and I were the first to discover that the tomb of that expert was hidden in Purple Flame Divine Mountain. Back then, we had already searched everywhere in the vicinity of Purple Flame Divine Mountain, and we've already entered this crack. Suzhou clenched his fists and said somewhat angrily, You've already entered? Then why are you still here to help us break the formation? Shouldn't you have already entered? The green-robed elder snorted coldly. He was clearly dissatisfied that Ziyu and Suzhou were hiding something from them. If this place was easy to enter, we would have already entered. There were all kinds of extremely terrifying traps hidden in this passage. Once the traps were triggered, they would attract an extremely terrifying attack. Suzhou and I joined forces to enter, but after a third of the way in, we couldn't take it anymore and retreated in a sorry state. If any of you are more confident, you can enter now. I won't stop you, Ziyu said coldly. Mo Fayu and the others' expressions changed slightly. They hadn't expected that there would be another mystery in this crack. It's because this place is so strange that we suspect that this crack is likely another path to Purple Flame Divine Mountain. It's a shortcut used by that expert's loyal subordinates to enter and exit. Since there are traps here, then Zhuowen and the others naturally can't enter. I think you're overthinking it. The green-robed elder shook his head and laughed. Suzhou grunted coldly and said, Didn't all of you notice that a grand formation has been set up outside the rift? It must have been set up by Zhuowen and the others. Their purpose was to prevent us from detecting them with our divine sense. They might have already entered the depths of the crevice. Mo Fengyu and the others were startled. If Suzhou's guess was true, wouldn't that mean that Zhuowen's group would be the first to reach this tomb? I don't believe you. I'll go in and try. The green-robed old man was obviously not interested in Suzhou's speculation. With a cold snort, he stepped into the crack. Not long after, an extremely terrifying aura and energy ripples came from the crack. Then, a miserable figure was forced to retreat. This sorry figure was the green-robed old man. Mother of asterisk cur, there really are a lot of traps here. The green-robed elder said with lingering fear. With the green-robed old man's personal experience, everyone believed Suzhou's guess. This is just my guess. Regardless of whether Zhuowen's group has successfully entered the Divine Mountain or not, we need to hurry up and break through the crevice. Everyone, I know you still have trump cards. Right now, time is precious. Let's not waste any more time. All right, show us all your trump cards. Suzhou stood tall and said coldly to everyone. Then he returned to the front of the Divine Mountain. Mo Fengyu, the green-robed old man, and the others looked at each other and nodded secretly as if they had reached some kind of agreement. They followed Suzhou back to the front of the Divine Mountain. Zhuowen's group of 4, who had entered the Divine Mountain, naturally didn't know that their whereabouts had been discovered. At this moment, the 4 of them were running up the stairs. The stairs were endless, as if there was no end. They extended all the way to an extremely high point. Brother Zhua, according to our speed, we should have climbed much higher than the height of the Purple Flame Divine Mountain. Why haven't we reached the end of the stairs? Duan Jipeng asked doubtfully. There's a maze here. We've actually been going around in circles. While we were running, I was observing this maze. Now, I found a way to break it. As Zhuowen spoke, he suddenly stopped. Then, his 10 fingers danced in the air like perfect fireworks. Complex runes surged out from his fingertips. Duan Jipeng and the other 2 stopped behind Zhuowen, silently waiting for Zhuowen to break the formation. Not long after, they discovered that the surrounding space had become distorted. Finally, with a cracking sound, it completely shattered. In the depths of the shattered space, a ray of purple light rushed in, accompanied by a scorching heat. Zhuowen and the other 3 involuntarily narrowed their eyes. When they completely opened their eyes, they saw that what appeared in front of them was no longer an endless flight of stairs. Instead, it was a grand and magnificent, enormous palace. This palace stood on the peak of the mountain. It was luxurious and magnificent. Its entire body was forged from pure white jade, and its surface exuded a shockingly rich chaotic energy. Holy **T. The entire shrine is made of supreme-grade chaos gems. That's way too extravagant. Duan Jipeng's eyes widened as he looked at the huge palace in front of him in disbelief. The palace was simply too huge. The entire structure was built with supreme-grade chaos gems. The number of chaos gems needed to build it was probably extremely terrifying. Even if they cultivated desperately for so many years, they might not be able to obtain so many chaos gems. To obtain so many chaotic gems and build such a huge palace, this palace could be the expert's mausoleum. TSK, as expected of a cosmic dharma expert. This foundation is too deep. Lin Long and his wife were full of admiration. Their eyes were already filled with passion. Zhuowen was the calmest of the four. He immediately noticed the surrounding environment and realized that they were on the peak of the Purple Flame Sacred Mountain. On the surface of the Purple Flame Sacred Mountain, the purple divine flames that seemed to never be extinguished burned and raged in the surroundings. However, they deliberately kept a distance of a few hundred feet from the mausoleum. Zhuowen's group happened to be within this range. Hence, they were not affected by the purple divine flames. At the same time, Zhuowen also noticed that there was a purple pearl at the peak of the palace. Chapter 41:38. The sealing power of the Purple Flame Sacred Mountain won't last much longer. Let's hurry into the mausoleum. We have to be quick, take whatever we can, and don't waste time on those we can't. Zhuowen shouted and led the way into the mausoleum. Duan Jipeng and the other two immediately snapped out of their stupor at Zhuowen's shout. They suppressed the excitement in their hearts and hurriedly followed. This was the mausoleum of a cosmic dharma powerhouse. It contained the life savings of this powerhouse. There must be many good things inside. The mausoleum was very large and was divided into many side halls. These side halls were like a maze surrounding the main hall in the center of the mausoleum. Not all of these side halls had treasures. Only about 10% of the side halls could store treasures. The other 90% of the side halls had all kinds of traps and restrictions. If one was not strong enough and fell into these side halls, they would easily die. The layout of the side halls was too complicated. Although Zhuowen had inherited by Tiangong's memories, he could not distinguish which side halls stored treasures and which side halls had traps. Bai Tiangong had only been to the mausoleum once. Back then, Lu Yanhua had not died, and the mausoleum had just been built. After the mausoleum was built, it had become Lu Yanhua's private, forbidden area. Even he had no right to enter the mausoleum without Lu Yanhua's orders. Therefore, Zhuowen currently only knew a path that led to the main hall. As for whether the side halls he passed by on the way had anything good, that was something he couldn't say for sure. After all, Bai Tiangong was not the craftsman who built the mausoleum. To know the route to the main hall was already a great fortune for Zhuowen. Zhuowen did not hide this from Duan Jipeng and the other two. After all, they were a team. Zhuowen could not possibly have the idea of taking everything for himself. The main hall must contain the most precious treasures of this mausoleum. We don't need to waste time in the side halls. Let's go straight to the main hall. Duan Jipeng said in a low voice. Brother Duan is right. It won't be too late to explore the side halls after we've finished looting the main hall. Lin Long and his wife nodded in agreement. After the four of them reached an agreement, Zhuowen took the lead and rushed into the depths of the mausoleum. As he went deeper and deeper, Zhuowen couldn't help but feel grateful. that Bai Tiangong had taken the initiative to take over his body. With Bai Tiangong's memories, he walked the correct path in the mausoleum. He didn't need to worry about the dangers and traps hidden in the mausoleum. This was because their keen divine senses could sense that the deeper they went into the mausoleum, the more dangerous the aura they could sense. If they were to fall into that kind of danger, it would be very difficult to deal with, and it would take a lot of time. After about an incense stick's worth of time, the group of 4 stopped in front of a huge jade door. The huge door was carved from some kind of jade stone that contained a powerful and mysterious energy. Many birds and beasts were carved on both sides of the door. Most of them were exotic beasts Zhuowen had never seen before. Yes, there's some kind of extremely powerful restriction on this huge door. It was a combination of numerous first firmament eternal level restrictions. It was an extremely complex combination array. Its power is infinitely close to that of a second firmament eternal level restriction. Zhuowen's gaze fell on the huge door, and his expression became very serious. Then what should we do? Brother Zhuo, your array Dao is only at the first firmament of the eternal grade. You can't break the restriction on this huge door, right? Duan Jipeng said dejectedly. Let me try. Zhuowen stepped forward and pressed his right hand on the crystal-clear lacquer surface of the huge door. This combined array was called the Jade Gate God Slaying Array. It was jointly arranged by 19 divine masters of array Dao at the first firmament of the eternal grade. Bai Tiangong was one of the 19 divine masters of array Dao. He knew the principle and essence of this combined array. After learning the principle of this array, even if Zhuowen's array Dao was not at the level of this array, he believed that with the power of the primordial stone, Zhuowen should be able to break it. However, it might take some time. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the entire hall shook violently, as if it had been hit by some extremely terrifying force. Duan Jipeng's face was gloomy. He said in a low voice, I think the restriction on the purple flame sacred mountain has been broken. The people outside will be able to break in soon. Lin Long and his wife were so scared that their faces turned pale. If that was really the case, they would definitely be condemned by everyone if they met them because they had taken a shortcut. Their situation would not be too good. The main hall is not that easy to find. I can break this array. I just need to break it before they find the main hall. Protect me. Zhuowen's expression was calm. After instructing Duan Jipeng and the other 2, he sat cross-legged in front of the huge door and began to deduce the method to break the Jade Door God Slaying Array. He believed that as long as he could successfully break this array, his array Dao level would rise again. At that time, his array Dao level would reach the peak of the first firmament of the eternal grade. At the same time that Zhuowen was breaking the array, the purple bead on the mountain peak finally shattered. As for the boundless purple flames on the surface of the purple flame divine mountain, due to the destruction of the purple pearls, all of them were extinguished. All of a sudden, the terrifying sacred mountain became a little bare. The giant hall that stood on the peak of the sacred mountain finally revealed its true appearance. Everyone could see clearly that the purple bead floating at the top of the hall was the eye of the array. But now, the purple bead had been reduced to powder. This hall should be the tomb of that expert. There must be many treasures inside. Mo Fengyo's face was full of excitement. His whole body was trembling. That was a sign of extreme excitement. The green-robed elder, Ziyu, and the others' breathing also became hot. Their eyes were fixed on the hall in front of them. Sure enough, someone has beaten us to it. Suzhou was the calmest. His gaze fell on a deep passageway not far from the hall. At the exit of the passageway, there was still the remnant aura of Zhuowen and the others. The door of the hall was also open. Obviously, someone had come in ahead of time. Is it Zhuowen and the others? Mo Fengyu asked with an ugly expression. It's very likely the four of them. Don't waste any more time. Next, we'll enter the main hall to fight for the treasures. Our temporary alliance no longer exists. Next, whoever is more capable will get the best treasures. Suzhou's voice was still cold. After he finished speaking, he turned into a rainbow and rushed into the hall. Behind Suzhou, Ziyu and the rest of the team rushed forward like locusts passing through a territory. Chapter 41:39. When the people of the three camps all rushed into the huge mausoleum, the even more shocking number of cultivators outside the Divine Mountain all flocked in like crazy. They were like locusts passing through a border, and it was quite a spectacular sight. However, when these people all gathered inside the mausoleum, they were shocked to find that the inside of the mausoleum was simply a big mausoleum. Not only were the routes complicated, but there were also many terrifying traps in the side halls along the way. Not long after they entered, there were already many cultivators who died because they accidentally entered the dangerous side palace. The same scene kept repeating in every corner of the mausoleum. Brother Suzhou, we found that no one has touched these side halls along the way. If someone got here first, it's impossible that they haven't touched a single side hall. After all, there are still a small number of treasures in these side halls. Bays. Ziyu followed closely behind Suzhou. He saw that there were still intact side halls along the way and raised the doubts in his heart. Suzhou narrowed his eyes. Brother Ziyu, although I haven't entered this mausoleum, I can guess that the mausoleum's owner built a maze-like route around the mausoleum. It's made up of side halls just to confuse the public. The things in these side halls are not bad, but do you think they can compare to that expert's personal treasures? Ziyu is a smart person. He naturally heard the meaning behind Suzhou's words. He whispered, Brother Suzhou, do you mean that Zhuowen and the others who came in before us deliberately didn't touch these side halls? Their goal is to hide in them. The main hall? This is the only explanation that makes sense. We have to hurry up. We can't fall behind everyone every time. Suzhou faintly smiled. His enormous divine sense spread out and began to carefully search for any clues in the surroundings. Many cultivators in Suzhou's territory couldn't resist the greed in their hearts and left the group. They began to explore the side halls along the way, hoping to find good opportunities. Even Fu Di, Zhan Anshan, and the other geniuses on the Outer Realm leaderboard began to become restless. They found reasons to leave the group and search for treasures on their own. Brother Suzhou, Fu Di, Shun and Lai Rong, and the others have all left the team. Our team is gradually decreasing. Should we stop them? Ziyu naturally noticed this. Her eyes were cold as she whispered to Suzhou. Suzhou patted Ziyu's shoulder and smiled. Brother Ziyu, our team is united on the premise of benefits and expectations. People's hearts are not united. Now that we've entered the mausoleum, everyone has their own thoughts. Our hearts have long been scattered. Why should we? What if I force it? Next, we just need to take care of ourselves. Ziyu's displeasure was slightly restrained. She didn't care about the cultivators who took the opportunity to leave the group. Ziyu's attitude made many cultivators bolder. Then, more and more people broke away from their group. The loss of troops wasn't just limited to Suzhou and Ziyu. The green-robed elder and the witchcraft god clan were also facing the same predicament, especially the green-robed elder. His team was basically made up of individual cultivators. They had no discipline at all. The speed at which they lost members was extremely shocking, although the witchcraft god clan also lost members because they were from the same clan. The loss wasn't as serious as the other two camps. Old ancestor, there are so many side halls here. Some of them have good treasures. Are we not going to fight for anything? Why are we just following behind Suzhou and the others? Mo Liuhua couldn't help but ask Mo Fengyu. Mo Liuhua said, Liuhua, can't you see? These side halls are actually a feint by the mausoleum master. The things hidden inside are just small profits. And we're not here just for small profits, we're here for big profits, and it's best if all of them. Suzhou is very smart. He knows that he shouldn't fight for small profits with those individual cultivators. Instead, he should focus on finding the real treasure of the mausoleum. We won't go wrong following them. Remember, we have to keep an eye on them. Mo Fengyu said confidently. Mo Liuhua and Lu Yingying looked at each other. Although they felt that Mo Fengyu's words made sense, they still couldn't help but look at the cultivators fighting over the treasures. They felt rather regretful. Not long after everyone rushed into the mausoleum, Duan Jipeng and the other two who were guarding Zhuowen also felt a powerful energy ripple inside the mausoleum. They immediately sensed that it was the energy ripples of cultivators fighting. Moreover, it wasn't just one or two ripples, but many that appeared in various directions of the mausoleum. It seems that the cultivators outside have all entered the mausoleum. I'm afraid that they'll find this place soon, Duan Jipeng said with a gloomy expression. What should we do? Zhuowen can't break the restriction on the main hall door in a short time, Lin Long and his wife said rather anxiously. Duan Jipeng frowned slightly. He silently watched Zhuowen's back as he broke the formation. For a moment, his mind was in a mess and he didn't know what to do. Time passed minute by minute. Suzhou and Zi Yu continued to go deeper into the mausoleum. Although they had taken many wrong paths, they had accumulated a lot of experience and had a general understanding of the mausoleum's route. Brother Suzhou, our team has all left. We're the only ones left. Ziyu and Suzhou stopped in front of a dead end. Ziyu shrugged and said rather helplessly, We're not the only ones left. Look at those people behind us. Haven't they been following us all this time? Suzhou smiled faintly. Ziyu glanced at the green-robed elder, Mo Fengyu, and the others who were following closely behind them. She pursed her lips and said, I think they're running out of patience. I'm afraid that if we keep going, they'll give up. After all, it's been 5 days since we entered the mausoleum. It's been 5 days. We've missed too many opportunities in the past 5 days. I think that almost all the side halls here have been turned upside down by others. There won't even be anything left for us. Suzhou said confidently, I really don't care about the things in the side halls. And it's not like I didn't gain anything. I've already collected most of the mausoleum's route. Now, I finally know where the main hall at the core of the mausoleum is. I know where it is. After he finished speaking, Suzhou let out a hearty laugh, and with a stomp of his right foot, he flashed out of the dead end and quickly dashed towards a certain path. Brother Suzhou, wait for me. Ziyu hurriedly chased after Suzhou. She kept muttering that Suzhou was crazy. Chapter 4140. Suzhou was extremely fast. He was like a stream of light shuttling through side halls and crossing intersections. This Suzhou's route is too strange. It doesn't follow common sense at all. Mo Fengyu and the others who were following closely behind were surprised. Their hearts were filled with puzzlement. About half an hour later, Mo Fengyu and the others discovered that their path had completely changed. Or, rather, the entire surrounding environment had become completely different. Then they saw Suzhou, who had been constantly rushing ahead, suddenly stop in front of them. Brother Suzhou, why did you stop again? Ziyu walked forward and patted Suzhou's shoulder. She was surprised to find that there was a bottomless abyss in front of Suzhou. It was pitch black and strange. Above the abyss, there was a huge bridge. They were at one end of the long bridge, and on the other end, there was a huge palace. This hall was far more majestic than those side halls in the maze. As it stood there, it was like a divine hall that had existed since time immemorial, sacred, and inviolable. Is this the main palace hidden in the deepest part of the mausoleum? Ziyu's eyes blazed. She looked at the huge palace on the other end of the bridge and said excitedly, "The green-robed elder." Mo, Fengyu, and the others finally breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that following Suzhou had been the right choice. Yes, this is the main palace. Also, someone really did beat us to it. Suzhou smiled faintly. His eyes under the silver mask fell on the four figures in front of the main palace gate. It's Zhuowen, Duan Jiping, and the others. It seems that Brother Suzhou's guess was right. There really is a shortcut in the crack behind Purple Flame, Divine Mountain. Ziyu couldn't help but give Suzhou a thumbs up. On the other end of the bridge, Duan Jiping and the others who had been guarding Zhuowen naturally discovered Suzhou and the others. Their expressions changed greatly. Not good. It's Suzhou and the others. How did they find this place so quickly? Lin Long and his wife asked anxiously. Duan Jiping's expression was solemn. He glanced at Zhuowen, who was still trying to break the array. Then, a determined look appeared in his eyes as he said in a low voice, "We must protect Brother Zhua. We must not let him be disturbed in any way. This is our only chance." Lin Long and his wife's eyes flickered as they hesitated. However, looking at Duan Jiping's back, they gritted their teeth and nodded heavily. "Ha ha ha. Brother Duan, what a coincidence. To think that we would meet again in the depths of the mausoleum." Suzhou laughed aloud. He took a step forward and crossed the bridge, arriving at the other end. His gaze that was as sharp as a blade landed on Zhuowen, who was protected by Duan Jiping and the others. Ziyu, Mo, Fengyu, the green-robed elder, and the others followed with smiles. Their faces were full of ridicule. Come to think of it, in their eyes, Duan Jiping and the others were already turtles in a jar, so they didn't care too much. What a coincidence! Duan Jiping laughed dryly, but his eyes were full of vigilance. "Brother Duan, you've been here for a long time. Why haven't you entered the main hall?" Ziyu chuckled, but her purple eyes were looking at Zhuowen's back, who was being protected by Duan Jiping. "The door of the main hall has set up an extremely powerful restriction. We are inexperienced and cannot break this restriction. Therefore, we are blocked outside." Duan Jiping said in a low voice, "I see that Brother Zhua hasn't said anything. Is he trying to break the array?" Ziyu asked jokingly. "He overestimates himself. The array on the door is almost at the level of the second firmament of the eternal realm. Who does he think he is? He dares to break the array alone. He's really courting death." Mo Fengyu sneered. Lu Yingying stood behind Mo Liuhua. Her beautiful eyes looked at Zhuowen rather speechlessly. This Zhuowen was really overestimating himself. What was his cultivation? His array skills were not particularly strong. Wasn't he just looking for trouble by trying to break the array? Ling Yun's vision is really not that good. Her disciple is too arrogant. How can such a guy live for long? Lu Yingying secretly despised him. "Old Mo, you'd better watch your words." Duan Jiping said with an unfriendly expression. Mo Fengyu grinned, but his eyes gradually darkened. "Duan Jiping, do you really think you're that big of a deal? Do you think that you're invincible just because you're at the peak of the great Qinkuan tribulation? You're not the only one with such cultivation here. If we attack, we can destroy you in a matter of minutes. If you don't want to die, get lost now." As he spoke, Mo Fengyu's powerful aura surged out. Immediately, The surroundings were enveloped by his terrifying aura, making the atmosphere very oppressive. Mo Liuhua followed, closely behind. Powerful divine power flowed around his body. The aura of the late stage of the Great Qianquan Tribulation was unmistakable. Peak of the Great Qianquan Tribulation and late stage of the Great Qianquan Tribulation. Lin Long and his wife's faces turned rather ugly. They had not expected Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua to be so strong. He. This old man has no intention of interfering in your affairs, but now that you're in my way, I have no choice but to attack. The green-robed elder smiled insincerely. He also came to Mo Fengyu's side. A powerful aura that was not weaker than the latter's also surged out. Another peak expert of the Great Qianquan Tribulation. Duan Jipeng's face turned extremely cold. Suzhou and Ziyu didn't move at all. They stood on the side like spectators and watched the confrontation with interest. Brother Zhua is about to break the array of the palace gate. Once it's broken, you can directly enter the main palace. There's no need for you to attack us, Duan Jipeng said in a low voice. Mo Fengyu sneered. This trash wants to break the array? Are you trying to make me laugh to death? Get lost. We'll think of a way to break the array. Don't waste our time. Brother Mo is right. Get lost. We won't pursue this matter and let you leave, the green-robed elder said indifferently. Duan Jipeng's face darkened completely. Mo Fengyu and the others were threatening him and driving him away just to have one less competitor after entering the main palace. Their words were high-sounding and dignified. As I said, Brother Zhua is breaking the array. If we wake him up now, he will definitely suffer a backlash. So, let's wait until he's done. Duan Jipeng did not back down. You want us to wait for a trash to break the array? How laughable. In that case, there's nothing to talk about. You can all stay here. Mo Fengyu snorted coldly and summoned his universe world. At the same time, Mo Liuhua and the green-robed elder also summoned their own universe worlds. Clearly, they had long reached an agreement to attack Duan Jipeng and the others. Leave Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua to me. You too, deal with that green-robed elder. Chapter 41-41. Boom. Mo Fengyu and Duan Jipeng fiercely collided. Terrifying energy ripples erupted like an abyss. The collision of two pinnacle Qianquan Great Tribulation experts produced extremely terrifying energy waves that were enough to tear apart the endless void. However, in the main hall, their energy fluctuations seemed to be blocked by some kind of invisible force. It did not affect this space, let alone the main hall that stood in front of them. Die! While Mo Fengyu and Duan Jipeng were entangled, Mo Liuhua saw the opportunity and took out a long saber that was overflowing with light. He slashed at Duan Jipeng's weakness. Duan Jipeng narrowed his eyes and stepped back with his right foot. His figure nimbly dodged Mo Liuhua's attack. While Duan Jipeng was entangled with Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua, Lin Long and his wife were fighting the green-robed elder. Although Lin Long and his wife were only at the late stage of the Qianquan Great Tribulation, they were good at joint attacks because of their tacit cooperation. Therefore, the strength they could display was not much weaker than a pinnacle Qianquan Great Tribulation expert. Therefore, although the green-robed elder's cultivation was stronger than Lin Long and his wife's, he was still unable to take them down in a short time. This team is really unexpected. They really hit it well. You silently watched this scene. A trace of surprise surged in the depths of her purple eyes. Brother Suzhou, should we join in and help them? Ziyu asked with a smile. Suzhou shook his head. We are not the same kind of people as them. Brother Z, you have to understand that our goal is the things in the main hall. We don't want to get into a big fight over a little argument. There's no need for that at all. Let's do things properly." As he spoke, Suzhou's gaze fell on Zhuowen. His expression became more and more serious. He could feel that Zhuowen seemed to have fallen into some kind of mysterious state. In the process of falling into this state, Zhuowen's method of breaking formations was constantly improving, and the level of his array Dao was also constantly increasing. Can't you see that Zhuowen is actually a divine array master at the first firmament of the eternal level? If he's given enough time, he might really be able to break through the grand formation on the surface of the hall. Suzhou said with a smile. Ziyu scratched her head. She had never dabbled in formations, so even though Suzhou said so, she still couldn't see anything. However, he had no choice but to believe Suzhou's words, because Suzhou's observation ability was extremely sharp, and he'd even dabbled in the knowledge of the Tao of formations in the past. So, he knew much more than Chenxi. On the outer realm celestial ranking, the person Ziyu admired the most was not the person who was ranked first. He admired the silver-masked Suzhou the most. Although Suzhou's strength was not as great as the top 3 geniuses on the outer realm heavenly ranking, he was the most knowledgeable and the most resourceful genius. Even the top 3 on the outer world heavenly ranking were extremely fearful when facing Suzhou. They didn't want to go against him. Then it's actually a good thing for us. Should we stop Mo Fengyu and the others? Ziyu chuckled. Suzhou slowly shook his head and chuckled. Only when Mo Fengyu and the others take action will we have a chance to enter the main palace. All we need to do is to observe the situation from the sidelines. Brother Ziyu, do you believe in me? Ziyu's expression turned serious. He nodded heavily. Brother Suzhou, of course I believe in you. Then you have to completely obey my instructions. Only then can you get a share of the loot in the main palace. If you don't want to obey, I won't force you. What happens to you in the end is none of my business. Suzhou's tone became particularly heavy. Ziyu hesitated. He was silent for a long time before he said, Brother Suzhou, I'll listen to you from now on. As time passed, the battle between Duan Jipeng and Linlong gradually reached its climax. Each of them used their own trump cards. However, whether it was Duan Jipeng or Linlong and his wife, they were all at a disadvantage, especially when Mo Fengyu took out a 7th rank astral weapon fragment. Duan Jipeng was forced to retreat step by step. Duan Jipeng, you can't beat us. Quickly fuck off. Otherwise, you'll perish here today. Mo Liuhua spoke coldly and faintly. Duan Jipeng's face was gloomy. He didn't expect Mo Fengyu and his wife to even use an astral weapon fragment. He also had an astral weapon, the complete version of the dark chakra. However, this thing couldn't be seen. Once he used it, he would be recognized immediately, and his identity would be exposed once again. At that time, it would be really bad. However, seeing Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua use the power of the astral weapon fragment to beat him up, he knew that if this continued, he would be finished. On the other side, Linlong and his wife were also injured. It wouldn't be long before they were defeated by the green-robed elder. He knew that if he didn't use the dark chakra, they would all die here. Just as Duan Jipeng was about to use the dark chakra, a blazing qi energy came from behind him. This qi energy passed by him and instantly appeared in front of Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua. It turned into a huge jade-colored divine saber and slashed down. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua were caught off guard and hurriedly used their divine power to block. Puchi, the two grunted and spat out mouthfuls of blood as they retreated. At the same time, a jade-colored divine saber also appeared in front of the green-robed elder and repelled him, giving Linlong and Mo Liuhua a chance to catch their breath. Who is it? Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder were both shocked and furious. They couldn't help but look in the direction of the jade-colored divine saber. They saw Zhuowen, who had been sitting cross-legged in front of the hall with his back to them, slowly stand up and turn around. A pair of cold eyes fell on them. "Brother Zhua, you're finally awake." Duan Jipeng and the others were wild with joy. Ever since Zhuowen broke the formation, he had been in a state of enlightenment. He had almost entered a state of selflessness and couldn't be awakened at all. Now that Zhuowen had finally woken up, Duan Jipeng and the others could finally relax. "Brother Zhua, the Jade Gate God, slaying formation on the door?" Lin Long and his wife asked hesitantly. "The formation is already under my control." Zhuowen smiled faintly. Zhuowen hadn't broken the Jade Gate God slaying formation. Instead, he had completely mastered it according to the principles of the formation. If he wanted to break the formation, he could have done it earlier, but he didn't. Instead, he tried to master it. All of this was to maintain the integrity of the formation. Chapter 41-42. He can actually control the array on the palace gate. This Zhuowen is indeed not simple. Su Zhou glanced at Zhuowen and the grand formation behind him, and a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes. "Little bastard, we'll give you a chance. Undo the array now and scram. That way, you won't have to die here." Mo Fengyu said with a gloomy face. Old man, you're quite thoughtful, but who do you think you are? What right do you have to order me around? If you want to enter the main palace, then come." Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Mo Fengyu was flustered and exasperated. In his opinion, this Aunt Zhuowen was too arrogant. How dare he look down on him like this? "You're courting death." Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua rushed over again. They attacked with all their might, wanting to kill Zhuowen with lightning speed. Duan Jipeng snorted coldly. Just as he was about to attack, a hand pressed down on his shoulder. It was Zhuowen. Zhuowen said with a smile, "Brother Duan, you guys retreat behind me first. They can't do anything to me now." Hearing this, Duan Jipeng hesitated for a moment before retreating as he was told. He had just witnessed the power of the Jade Gate God slaying array, and knew that once activated, it was indeed more powerful than an expert at the peak of the Qianquan Great Tribulation. Zhuowen's 10 fingers linked together in the air. Then, the Jade Gate God slaying array behind him suddenly blasted out 2 jade-colored qis. The 2 jade-colored qis turned into jade-colored divine sabers that ruthlessly slammed towards Mo Fengyu and Su Zhou. Now that the 2 of them were on guard, they were not afraid of the jade-colored divine sabers. They brazenly collided with the jade-colored divine sabers. In a short while, the jade-colored divine sabers were annihilated. The power of this array is only SOSO. Mo Fengyu's lips curled into a smug smile, but there was contempt in his eyes. "Brother Gu, Su Zhou, Zio, the main palace is close at hand. Are you still not going to attack? As long as we kill him, we can replace him and take control of the Jade Gate God-slaying array." Mo Fengyu shouted. The green-robed elder, who had been watching the show, revealed a look of interest in his eyes. He thought for a moment, then rushed out and joined forces with Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua. "Let's go over too." Ziyu was eager to try. Su Zhou pulled Ziyu and said softly, "We can go over, but if you want to enter the main hall smoothly, you have to listen to me. Understand?" Ziyu was somewhat disheartened. "I know. I'll listen to you." "All right, let's go then." Su Zhou's expression was calm. He landed not far from Mo Fengyu with Ziyu. After seeing that the 5 of them had joined forces, Zhuowen's expression turned slightly serious. He silently sent his voice to Duan Jipeng. Both of you retreat to the middle of the palace gate and listen to my orders to enter the palace gate at any time. Got it? Duan Jipeng and the other two nodded heavily, although they were a little worried about whether the Jade Gate God slaying array could stop the five of them. They could only listen to Zhuowen for now. Attack! Mo Fengyu roared and attacked first. Violent energy surged out, and the terrifying Qian Kuan world descended from the void. Streams of terrifying tribulation energy gathered like a tide, pouring down in all directions. Mo Liuhua and the green-robed elder also used all their strength. Surging energy wreaked havoc, and dazzling light shone in all directions. Suzhou and Zi Yu both took out their life-divine weapons and followed behind the three of them. Zhuo Wen's eyes slowly narrowed, and the corner of his mouth revealed an imperceptible smile. Mo Fengyu and the others simply did not know how strong the Jade Gate God-slaying array was. Zhuowen shook his head inwardly. His fingertips danced in the void and completely erupted with the full power of the Jade Gate God-slaying array. The array that had been as calm as water instantly turned berserk in the next moment. Then, streams of dense jade-colored energy swept out from all directions of the array and instantly enveloped Mo Fengyu and the others. Their expressions changed greatly. Only now did they realize that the jade-colored energy had turned into incomparably sharp jade-colored divine sabers. Clang! Clang! The jade-colored divine sabers were merciless. The moment they appeared, they launched a terrifying, thunderous attack. Damn it, this brat deliberately showed weakness just now to bait us. Mo Fengyu was unable to restrain his anger. He punched out, and terrifying energy caused the surrounding space to collapse, annihilating the numerous jade-colored divine sabers. But the wave of jade-colored divine sabers was dense and seemingly endless. After he destroyed the jade-colored divine sabers around him, even more jade-colored divine sabers swept over from all directions. The green-robed elder and Mo Liuhua's expressions were also extremely ugly. As they resisted the jade-colored divine sabers, they cursed Zhuowen for being cunning. Damn it, we've fallen into a trap. Ziyu said with a heavy expression. Suzhou was already as calm as water. His eyes flashed with a silver-gray light. He looked ahead as if he had seen through something. At this moment, outside the array, Zhuowen had completely activated the Jade Gate God slaying array. He did not stop there. His 10 fingers formed a seal. Within the array, more jade-colored energy poured out. Then countless jade-colored energy condensed into a huge phantom that was dozens of feet tall. This phantom was covered in jade-colored armor that emitted a jade-colored light. It held a huge jade-colored saber in its hands and carried 5 jade-colored divine sabers on its back. It looked like a god that had descended to the mortal world. After summoning this phantom with the Jade Gate God slaying array, Zhuowen breathed a sigh of relief. Then, he used the same method to break the array and pushed open the palace door. Creak! There was a crisp sound of the door opening. Zhuowen opened a crack in the huge jade-colored palace door. Brother Duan, hurry up and go in. Zhuowen urged. Duan Jipeng and the other two were wild with joy. They hurriedly entered the main palace through the crack. Zhuowen was the last to enter. When he was about to close the palace door again, his eyelids suddenly twitched. He saw a silver spear emerge from the depths of the void and fly towards his forehead. The spear's timing and position were too precise. Even Zhuowen did not expect it. Damn it! Zhuowen cursed in a low voice and immediately retreated a few steps, taking advantage of the buffer time. He summoned the Taiyu sacred sword and slashed at the spear's shiny silver body. Clang! A crisp clang rang out as the Taiyu sacred sword and the silver spear collided. Terrifying energy ripples swept out in all directions. Zhuowen groaned and couldn't help but take a few steps back. The silver spear was blocked as well, but it still managed to enter the palace. Bang! At this moment, the palace door finally closed completely. Damn it! After the palace door closed, Mo Fengyu and the other four finally managed to break free from the jade-colored energy. Their expressions were very unfriendly. I don't believe it. I'm going to blast open the palace door. Mo Fengyu was so angry that he lost his mind. He rushed towards the palace door, wanting to break through the array with brute force. However, the moment he approached the door, a divine saber that was much larger than him appeared in front of him in the blink of an eye and slashed at him without hesitation. Boom! Boom! Chapter 41-43. Roar! The huge phantom roared. It held the jade-colored divine sabers in both hands and charged towards Mo Fengyu. The two sabers were like lightning as they slashed towards Mo Fengyu. Mo Fengyu's expression was ugly. He hurriedly retreated from the range of the Jade Gate God-slaying array, and the giant shadow was clearly limited by the distance. After chasing for some distance, it returned to the hall door and sat cross-legged in front of the door, squatting silently. It was guarding. This array is too terrifying. Even if we join forces, I'm afraid we won't be able to break it in a short time. The green-robed elder looked fearfully at the huge phantom sitting cross-legged in front of the palace gate. His face was gloomy. Suzhou and Ziyu were silent. The green-robed elder was right. The power of this array was almost at the second firmament of the eternal realm. Even if the five of them joined forces, they wouldn't be able to break the array and enter the main palace in a short time. Inside the palace. Now, the only way is to gather all the cultivators in the mausoleum and gather everyone's strength to attack this array. Perhaps there is still a glimmer of hope. Suzhou suddenly said, "Brother Suzhou is right. This is the only way now." Ziyu hurriedly agreed. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua's expressions were full of unwillingness. They said in a low voice, "Gongzi Suzhou, we trusted you very much. We've been following you and missed out on many good things in the side palace. Now, we've finally found the main palace, but we have to gather that group of people again and let them have a share of the loot. Isn't this a little?" Although the two of them didn't say anything to complain about Suzhou, their expressions clearly expressed their dissatisfaction with Suzhou. "You two are really interesting. You were the ones who shamelessly followed us. We didn't ask you to come with us. Now that we're trapped outside the main palace, you're blaming Brother Suzhou? Don't you feel ashamed?" Ziyu sneered. Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua snorted, but didn't say anything. Ziyu was right. They were the ones who had followed them. Missing out on the treasures in the side palace didn't seem to have anything to do with Suzhou and the others. Moreover, Suzhou and Ziyu's backgrounds weren't low. Although this was their Wushan clan's territory, it was impossible for them to be unhappy with Suzhou over such a small matter. Suzhou's expression was calm as he said, "Everyone, calm down. It's completely meaningless to argue now. Just as I've said, we can only gather most of the cultivators and work together to blast open this grand formation. That's the only feasible method right now. Moreover, Senior Mo, you also have a huge advantage. After all, you have the right to choose a treasure first. Therefore, even if everyone attacks this formation, it won't be bad for your Sorcerer God clan." The haze on Mo Fengyu and Mo Liuhua's faces gradually eased. Mo Fengyu said in a deep voice, "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go and gather our men." With that, Mo Fengyu led Mo Liuhua and Lu Yingying out of the main hall. The green-robed elder sighed and left the place, preparing to gather the people in his camp. Soon, only Suzhou and Ziyu were left in front of the main hall. "Brother Suzhou, you deliberately sent them away, right?" Ziyu silently looked at the backs of Mo Fengyu and the others as she said lightly, "If I didn't send them away, how would we have a chance to enter the main hall?" Suzhou said. Ziyu's eyes lit up. She said rather happily, "Brother Suzhou, do you have a way to break this Jade Gate god-killing formation?" Suzhou shook his head. This made Ziyu purse her lips. She was a bit confused. Suzhou smiled slightly. He flipped his right hand, and a faint silver pattern appeared on his palm. This pattern was like a dragon or snake. It was curved and formed an ancient character for spear. "Ziyu, you fought with me before. You should know the ability of my divine weapon, the Chaos Space Divine Spear, right?" Suzhou asked indifferently. Ziyu seemed to have thought of something bad. She shrugged. "Of course I know. Your divine weapon is really too annoying. It actually has the ability to freely travel through time. If you didn't rely on this strange ability to constantly make strange moves, I wouldn't have been able to defeat you. I might not have lost." Suzhou said indifferently, "Even if I didn't rely on the Chaos Space Divine Spear's ability, I could still defeat you. It would just be a bit more troublesome." Okay. This matter is already in the past. Can you not mention it?" Ziyu gritted her teeth. Suzhou shook his head. "Then let's not mention it. My Chaos Space Divine Spear is already in the main hall. Now, follow me into the main hall." Ziyu was pleasantly surprised. She couldn't help but give Suzhou a thumbs up. As expected of brother Suzhou, "It seems like you've already schemed against that Zhuowen. Hee. Doesn't that mean we don't need to break the formation to directly enter the main hall?" Ziyu was overjoyed. Suzhou didn't speak. Instead, he condensed divine power in his right hand. The spear character in his palm shot out a blazing silver-white light. Silver-white light shot out and formed a ferocious mouth in the void. It swallowed Suzhou and Ziyu in one gulp. Boom. The palace doors were completely shut. Zhuowen barely managed to stabilize himself. He looked gloomily at the silver spear that was stuck in the ground not far from the palace doors. "Brother Zhua, are you okay?" Duan Jipeng and Linlong hurriedly ran over and asked Zhuowen worriedly. "I'm fine." Zhuowen waved his hand and looked at the silver spear. He could feel a terrifying energy fluctuation from the spear. And this energy fluctuation was very similar to Suzhou's aura. "It seems like we've been schemed against." Zhuowen took a deep breath and said helplessly, schemed against?" Duan Jipeng was a little puzzled. This spear was set up by Suzhou in advance. It was waiting to enter the palace doors at any time. If my guess is right, Suzhou might have some method to use this spear to enter from the outside world. Zhuowen's expression wasn't very good. The feeling of being schemed against wasn't very comfortable. After Zhuowen's reminder, Duan Jipeng and the others finally reacted. They figured out the details, and their expressions weren't very good. "Let's just destroy this spear." Duan Jipeng's eyes were fierce. He strode over, and a terrifying power poured out. It condensed in his palm, and then he slammed it against the silver spear. However, the moment Duan Jipeng's palm landed on the ground, the silver spear buzzed and shot backwards, disappearing on the spot. Chapter 41-44. "Ha! Brother Zhua is too kind. It's all thanks to Brother Zhua that we can enter the main palace. Speaking of which, we should be the ones thanking you." Just as Zhua finished speaking, a hearty laugh came from above the main palace. The silver-long spear emitted a silver-white radiance. Within the dense radiance, the silhouettes of two figures were revealed. When the light faded, a purple-haired, purple-eyed youth and a silver-masked youth were suspended in the air, looking down at Zhua and the others. Good method. It seems that I underestimated the geniuses on the Outer Realm leaderboard. Zhuowen said lightly. "See, you was a little proud. Kid, Don't think that just because you defeated Lai Rong, the Outer Realm leaderboard isn't much. Lai Rong is only ranked 72nd on the Outer Realm leaderboard. To the two of us, he's no different from trash. What's the difference? Duan Jipeng and Lin Long stood in front of Zhuo Wen. They looked warily at Su Zhou and Ziyu, who were slowly landing on the ground. The four of you, we have no ill intentions. This main palace is the tomb of that expert after all. Although there are many treasures hidden inside, there should also be terrifying traps. Why don't we work together? Su Zhou was quite sincere. Su Zhou was very sincere. That's right. We don't have any enmity. We're all looking for treasures. Right now, this main palace is still an unknown place to us. It's better for us to work together than to explore on our own. Ziyu laughed mischievously. Duan Jipeng and the other two's eyes flickered. They were a little tempted, but their gazes fell on the youth behind them. They still had to see Zhuo Wen's opinion on the matter of cooperation. Zhuo Wen slowly walked forward and said lightly, "I appreciate your intentions. As for the matter of cooperation, let's forget about it. We're not that close." Su Zhou's eyes slowly narrowed. He stopped the impatient Ziyu and said lightly, "That's really a pity. Since Brother Zhuo doesn't want to cooperate with us, then we won't force ourselves. We'll take our leave now." Su Zhou didn't linger any longer. He led Ziyu into the depths of the main hall. "Brother Zhuo, what Su Zhou said actually makes some sense. After all, this main hall is still an unknown place, and there might be some hidden dangers. Cooperating with them is actually a wise move." Lin Long and his wife anxiously advised. Zhuo Wen looked at Lin Long and his wife with a spurious smile and said, "The two of you seem to really want to work with Su Zhou and the others. Could it be that working with them will benefit you in some way?" Lin Long and his wife's expressions changed slightly. Lin Long waved his hand and said, "How could that be? It's just that we feel that the benefits of working with Su Zhou and the others outweigh the disadvantages. Since Brother Zhuo doesn't agree, we naturally won't have any objections. Since there are no objections, that's for the best. We should properly explore this main palace. I hope the things inside won't disappoint us." Zhuo Wen smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Instead, he led the way into the depths of the main palace. Lin Long and his wife followed closely behind. Duan Jipeng was at the back. His gaze fell on Lin Long and his wife. He couldn't help but slowly narrow his eyes. The area of the main hall was extremely large. The floor in the center of the hall was made of transparent crystal stones. When they stepped on the floor, they could clearly see their own reflections. What was even more strange was that there wasn't just one reflection on the transparent floor, but many. When you look down at the floor, you can see as if there are many of you looking back at you. At the end of the hall, there were bronze doors that looked exactly the same. The bronze doors were about 2 people tall and half a meter wide. There were many complicated patterns on the surface that flickered with a mysterious light. Zhuo Wen noticed that several bronze doors in the east had been violently broken. Clearly, Su Zhou and Ziyu had already started to explore what treasures were behind the bronze doors. How unlucky! It's actually a mechanism again. An extremely terrifying energy fluctuation came from a broken bronze door in the east. Then, 2 figures came out in a rather sorry state. It was Su Zhou and Ziyu. Ziyu was cursing, and her expression wasn't very good. The 2 of them naturally saw Zhuo Wen's group of 4, but they didn't go up to greet them. Instead, they quickly rushed to another bronze door, broke it open with brute force, and entered to explore again. "Let's go explore too. It won't be good if those 2 beat us to it." Lin Long and his wife said eagerly, "How about this? The 4 of us together obviously won't be very efficient. Let's split into 2 groups and explore the bronze doors separately. Zhuowen said with a smile. Lin Long and his wife were startled. Their faces were slightly stiff. Brother Zhuo's suggestion is not bad. Lin Long, you and your wife will form a group. Brother Zhuo and I will form a group. Do you have any objections? Duan Jipeng suddenly said. Lin Long and his wife looked at each other and smiled. Of course we have no objections. Then let's begin. After Duan Jipeng finished speaking, Lin Long and his wife went to the bronze door in the north. Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng went to the bronze door in the west. However, not long after Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng left, Lin Long and his wife, who were supposed to go to the bronze door in the north, returned to the center. In the east, Su Zhou and Ziyu walked out of the broken bronze door and met up with Lin Long and his wife. Lord Su Zhou, I'm afraid that the two of us have already been suspected. Lin Long respectfully cupped his hands towards Su Zhou. Ha ha. Lin Long, you're too eager for instant success. That's why you gave yourself away. This is a bit disappointing. Su Zhou said coldly. Lin Long and his wife hurriedly knelt on the ground and said in a cold sweat, We were too anxious. Lord Su Zhou, please forgive us. Ziyu was surprised at first, but then her face was full of admiration. This Su Zhou was really full of tricks. Even the two people beside Zhuowen were bribed by him. Forget it. We've already entered the main hall anyway. According to the information you provided, Zhuowen seems to have obtained the memories of an important subordinate of that expert. They probably know which of the many bronze doors here is the real one, the treasure ground. Su Zhou said indifferently. Since that's the case, why don't we just join forces and capture the two of them? Then we can force out the specific location, right? There's no need to beat around the bush. See, you said unhappily. Su Zhou shook his head. Whether it's Zhuowen or Duan Jipeng, both of them aren't simple. I can feel that if we fight them head-on, even if we win, it might be a Pyrrhic victory. We might even fail miserably. Ziyu looked at Su Zhou in surprise. She didn't expect Su Zhou to have such a high opinion of Zhuowen. This wasn't Su Zhou's style. She remembered that the only people in the younger generation that Su Zhou was so afraid of were the three perverts in the top 3 of the Outer Realm leaderboard. Chapter 41-45. Brother Ziyu, the 100 domains outside the realm are vast and full of talents. Who knows how many peerless geniuses are hidden among them? Although the Outer Realm Celestial List is an authoritative list, not everyone is willing to fight for it. This Zhuowen was able to reach here. Whether it is his temperament or strength, he is definitely the best. Don't be careless, Su Zhou said in a low voice. Ziyu pursed his lips but didn't refute. Although he didn't like Su Zhou's preaching, he knew that even if he refuted, he couldn't win against Su Zhou. Darren, that Zhuowen might know the specific map of the main palace. If we don't keep an eye on them, I'm afraid that they will enter the treasure land first and take away the treasures here. Lin Long quickly suggested. I have my own judgment on this matter. I want them to find the treasure land before us because they are destined to be my explorers. A faint smile appeared on Su Zhou's lips. He then led the 3 of them towards the bronze door in the west. However, the moment the 4 of them left, Su Zhou waved his sleeve, and a strange energy wave enveloped them. The space around them became transparent and distorted. The traces and auras of the 4 of them seemed to have disappeared into thin air. At the end of the west stood a mysterious bronze door. When Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng arrived, they weren't in a hurry to find the bronze door. Instead, they looked at each other. Brother Duan, are you sure you can trust those two? Zhuowen asked with an ugly expression. Duan Jipeng looked rather embarrassed. I don't know much about their specific origins. I only know that they are itinerant cultivators, and their backgrounds are quite clean, Do you still think their backgrounds are clean now? Zhuowen shook his head. Duan Jipeng was a little embarrassed. He then said with a serious expression, thinking about it, they might have colluded with Suzhou and the others. Otherwise, they wouldn't have strongly requested to cooperate with Suzhou and the others at the palace door. Zhuowen nodded and said in a low voice, if the memory I obtained is correct, the true burial place of the tomb's owner should be in one of these bronze doors. However, I don't know the specifics. I only know that it should be in the west region. Furthermore, other than the true burial ground of that expert, there are many good things behind some of the bronze doors. As the saying goes, what is false is true, and what is true is false. As long as we can distinguish the real from the fake, we will naturally be able to find the real burial ground. As he spoke, Zhuowen and Duan Jipeng began to seriously search through the bronze doors. The two of them blasted open one bronze door after another and began a carpet search. However, what they didn't notice was that in a hidden space not far away, there were 4 pairs of eyes silently watching their every move. At the same time, outside the main hall, the green-robed elder, Mo Fengyu and the others had already gathered the people of their 2 camps outside the main hall. The majestic procession sat in the open space outside the palace gate, but it did not seem crowded at all. What's wrong with Suzhou and Ziyu? Why is it so slow? Mo Fengyu said with an ugly expression. The green-robed old man was also puzzled. They had already gathered the team and waited here for Suzhou and the others for a while. However, Suzhou and Ziyu seemed to have evaporated into thin air and didn't appear. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, several figures came from the other end of the bridge. After crossing the bridge, they landed on the open space. Mo Fengyu and the others looked over and saw that the person leading them was a slightly tanned, strong youth with 2 sabers on his back. The 10th on the Beyond Realm leaderboard, Fu Di, everyone recognized the identity of this strong youth. At the same time, the people behind Fu Di were also geniuses on the Beyond Realm leaderboard. The 15th on the Beyond Realm leaderboard, Shun Anshan, the 20th on the Beyond Realm leaderboard, and the pale-faced Lai Rong, who was being supported by the black-robed elder. In addition, on the other side of the bridge, there was a large number of teams following Fu Di and coming along the bridge. They were the teams of Suzhou and Ziyu. Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder looked at each other. Their expressions eased a little, and they went forward to meet them. Little friend Fu Di, where are Suzhou and Ziyu? Why don't I see them? Mo Fengyu asked Fu Di with a smile. I should be asking you about Brother Suzhou and Brother Ziyu's whereabouts. Why are you asking about me instead? I remember that you were following behind them all this time? Fu Di's voice was very loud, like a thunderclap. He looked doubtfully at Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder. What? Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder were shocked. Even Fu Di had not seen Suzhou and Ziyu. Then where had they gone? Could it be that they had also entered the main hall? At this moment, Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder thought of this possibility at the same time. Although they did not know how Suzhou and Ziyu had entered, they could not have given up on the main hall and left. Their whereabouts were unknown, so the only explanation was that they had entered the main hall. Damn it! Suzhou is so scheming. He was the one who suggested gathering everyone to attack the formation. I thought he was being kind, but it turned out that he just wanted to send us away so that they could enter the main hall without anyone knowing. Mo Fengyu was flustered and exasperated. He said, although Fu Di did not know the ins and outs, he knew from Mo Fengyu's words that Suzhou and Ziyu had already entered the main hall. When Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder told him everything that had happened, Fu Di finally understood. That bastard Zhuowen also entered the main hall. Lai Rong had also heard Mo Fengyu and the others' narration, and knew that Zhuowen had already entered the main hall. He immediately felt very unhappy. It really is Brother Suzhou's style. However, we can't let them monopolize the treasures in the main hall. There are so many of us. We should get a share. Although Suzhou and Ziyu are not here, I will preside over it for now. Fu Di said in a low voice. Mo Fengyu and the green-robed elder had no objections to Fu Di's words. They had originally planned to combine everyone's strength and forcibly blast open the Jade Gate God slaying formation. Although Suzhou and Ziyu had already slipped away, they had no other way to bypass the formation and could only continue using this method. Everyone, charge! As long as we can break this formation, we can take all the treasures in the main hall. Next, Mo Fengyu shouted and led the Witchcraft God Clan's team to charge towards the huge shadow in front of the palace gate. Fu Di and the green-robed elder were naturally unwilling to fall behind. They also shouted, and terrifying energy ripples spread through the entire space like waves. Roar! The jade-colored shadow that had been sitting cross-legged in front of the palace gate roared and stood up. The huge jade-colored sabers in its hands slashed out.